I'm your huckleberry.
Hey, Big Daddy, how you doing?
I'm just going to say it. Today should be a national gosh darned holiday.
Nope.
Today should be a day of joy, celebration, happy. I mean, every day should be a day of joy, celebration, happiness, all the things that are right with life. There are days where even I wake up and I spring out of bed with a pep in my step. There are days when I arise with a glimmer in my eyes. There are days where even I just stretch out, take that deep breath, and say to myself, today's a damn good day to be alive. Today is a real good day to be somebody. And today, ladies and gentlemen, today is one of those days. Happy first day of March Madness. Happy first day of what might arguably be the 4 consecutive back-to-back best days on the sports calendar. There are other days that have bigger games. There are even other stretches that have 4 good days of sports put together. I'm looking at you, the Masters. There's a lot of real good sports days out there. But these first 4 days of the March Madness basketball tournament may very well be the 4 best days on the sports calendar, people. We have got games that are going to get started in the AM portion of the day. We are going to have games that are going to tip all the way into the evening time. I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now, to the shock of exactly nobody, I don't think, that your boy is going to be a tired fella tomorrow morning. Why? Because tonight at 10 p.m., we've got a 12-5 matchup in the tournament that a lot of people are picking to be one of the 12-5 matchups. That's Michigan taking on UC San Diego. Then at 10:10 p.m. on True TV.
Who you got in that? Are you not going to tell us who you got in that?
I will tell you who I got. In fact, I'll lay out my whole bracket today, as a matter of fact.
Okay, all right.
Once I finish it.
Okay, well, mine's done because you put out a request to everyone yesterday, and I took heed.
I did put out a request. In fact, not only did I put out a request,
a bunch of people took heed. Looks like.
Not only did I put out a request, but I put out a request yesterday that I'm going to put out again today, this morning, because you have 6 hours and 11 minutes on the dot right now to get your brackets locked in. 6 hours, 10 minutes, 54 seconds to get your brackets locked in. And don't you worry, my dear friends, because we're talking college basketball on the radio broadcast this morning. I'm going to help you out. I'm going to hook you up. I'm going to give you some of my favorite picks. We're going to hear some professional sports talkers from around these great United States give out their picks. We're going to have some fun on the show today, talking tournament basketball, talking bracketology. And the request that I have of you, the challenge that I have to you, if you feel worthy to step up and respond to it, is to represent the Rob Brown Show. Because we're doing things a little bit different this year. See, in the years gone by since I moved here, back in the great beyond of 2020.
Why are you pointing towards the sky?
Because I'm pointing in the...
You should really be careful about what you're doing.
I'm pointing in the direction of the past. You'll also notice that the hand gets twisted
Yeah, okay.
just a certain way.
All right. Well, it's not being shown entirely on the screen, so
Okay,
it could be
that's fair.
misinterpreted. So I'm trying. I mean, you know how things are
That's
going lately, so you probably shouldn't do that.
I mean, don't do
here's
that thing.
Here's what you should do: is just put your hand above your eyes, like you're gazing into the distance.
I will
the
point.
Josh Pate thing. Yeah.
I will point to the past. I will point back to the year of
You can't see you pointing.
2000.
I'm just saying, you can't see you pointing.
I'd like to think that the guy who openly refers to himself as Liberob the Woke Warrior here on the show would get some credit for that.
Get some credit for doing something
For-
that looks like
for-
something that no. Just I mean, why can't you just not do it?
Point? I can't not point in general.
Well, now the pointing thing is fine. The other thing you were doing that
Which
you
I
repeatedly
wasn't
did,
doing. Stop it. You're going to get me not just canceled, but probably beat up. I wasn't doing that. And in the great yesteryear of 2020, I moved here. And ever since, we have done all the way back to the opening March of the Rob Brown Show here on the Fan Upstate. We have done a March Madness Bracket Challenge. And over the years, it has been the same thing. I invite listeners of this show to participate in a bracket pool challenge just for listeners of this show. And I have said every single year, if you are the top-ranked bracket in our bracket contest, you get a segment of the show to come on the show and talk about whatever you want to talk about. And we've had great success with that. We've had some years where our winners just never showed up to claim their prize. We have had some years where we have had listeners come in here to claim their segment. And by the way, you have the whole year to call your shot. You can come in the very next day to just spend a segment telling everybody how incredible you are. You can come in college football season and take advantage of your segment to talk a whole bunch of bleep about your rivals or prop up your own program, whatever you want. We've had some wonderful success. We're doing it a little different this year because competition breeds excellence. I'm a firm believer in that. We laid it out on the table yesterday. Lonzo and I have what some might even call, and probably have, an unhealthy obsession with competition. I want to win. Lonzo wants to win. We want to win more than anything else.
Winning.
It's all we try to do here
I'm
on
a
the
winner.
show.
I know how to win.
Hell yes. And so we decided, because competition breeds excellence and we love to win, we're going to do something a little different for the bracket competition this year. Because my dear friends, my coworkers, my colleagues, my compatriots, my comrade in arms in the afternoons, Diesel and Cole Bryson. When I was driving back into town the other day and I was listening to Wire, as I listen to Wire every single day, I was listening to them talk about their brackets and their national champions and who they believe is going to be moving on and moving out. I heard them do, for the record, a wonderful segment on the fact that, y'all, the Clemson Tigers got probably the worst possible 5-12 draw they could have gotten. They're in trouble out of the gate against McNeese State. That ain't no hate. You can relate. I loved it.
Wow.
I know, I'm good at this. And so I thought, you know, the fellas over here running on about a little college basketball, doing a good job. You know what I'd like? I'd like a little friendly competition. I'd like a little friendly competition between Lonzo and myself and Diesel and Cole Bryson. But then I decided, wait. We can do one better. It's not just going to be competition between the great one and Rob Brown and Diesel and Cole Bryan. No. It's going to be competition between our listeners. Now, I know that we are very fortunate that we have a lot of listeners who check into both shows. A lot of crossover listeners. Not Dewey, who's already texted and said your request is denied. # fire Rob Brown. Dewey, good morning. Mwah. Good to see you too, buddy. And also, by the way, go ahead and get Fire Rob Brown trending. I think that'd be great. Even if it's just locally, I'll take it.
Yeah, I don't like that.
I'm not worried about it. Not worried about it. So I said, let's have a little friendly competition, not just hosts v. hosts, Let's have a little competition between our non-crossover audience. Here on the Rob Brown Show in the AMs, we refer to you, our loving, endearing, adoring audience. We refer to you as the Armada. You earned yourself a name. It got that name a handful of years ago when Lonzo and I, they used to let us go out in public and represent the station. And we had a day that we were at Hall of Fame Sports Bar and Grill downtown, doing a little remote partay, if you will. And while we were down there, we had, I don't remember how many, probably a dozen plus truck drivers and delivery drivers who stopped by and said, Rob Brown, we listen to you in the truck every day. We listen to the van every day. We have one guy that said he works at a local, we'll just say big-time delivery service facility, and he said that their entire storeroom, as they're loading up trucks in the late morning, listen to the show. And that was the day we coined the Armada, because we know a heck of a lot of y'all that are out there listening, you're the blue-collar fellas. You're the blue-collar ladies. Y'all are the ones that are getting up, and you're doing all the stuff at 4:30 in the morning that none of us want to do so that society functions. And we love you for it. So you got Coin the Armada. And then there's the afternoon show. There's Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson. And they call their listeners the Tolos. Why? Because the afternoon listeners, they turn it on, they leave it on. The Tolos. And there are some crossover listeners.
I listen. I mean, there's no real animosity between us, but I just have a problem with that. I just do.
I like it, actually, to be honest with you.
I
like it.
But again, old guy on the station.
It's also true.
You know, Tolo sounds like YOLO. From what I understand, you're not supposed to say that anymore because it's not cool. Yeah. So I mean, you know, so why use? Okay, fine. So it sounds like a Cole idea.
So in the AM, we got the Armada, and in the PM, we got the Tolos. And we said, let's have a little friendly competition. So this year's bracket challenge is a little bit different. We're still going to keep track.
I think Armada would blow the Tolos out of the water.
Here's the thing. We're about to find out. Like, literally,
I don't think
right
there's
now.
any such thing as friendly competition. I'm sorry. I just don't. I can't. I want to beat you. I not only do I want to beat you, I want you to be beat down when I beat you to the point where you go, I just got my butt whipped. That's what I want.
The friendly competition comes at the end of the contest when you can look across the half-court line with your competitor and say, I just beat your ass or you just beat mine, but extend a hand of friendship and sportsmanship.
No.
To shake that hand.
You make eye contact with me, then you know who your daddy is. That's what it is. I just want to win, and I would like to step on your head while I'm doing it.
Again, from the opening tip to the final whistle, of course, that's the attitude I got. From the opening tip to the final whistle. If you don't think I spend a year looking forward to getting over to Columbia, South Carolina in August and sitting across from friend of the show, both on and off the air, Chris Miller, the Tom Brady of broadcasting. Every year I go over there going, this is the year I get that guy. Yeah, this is the guy I take his awards from him. This is the year those trophies put my name on them, not his. And then when he inevitably kicks my ass and wins again, I walk over and I shake his hand and I go, gosh dang it, son, you're good at this. Congratulations. I'll see you back here in 365. And we start going for it. Little friendly competition's good for everybody.
All right. Yeah, I get all that. But you know you're not going to beat him because no one ever beats him. Here's what it comes down to. You're the only one that's going to treat it this way. If either one of them beats us, they're going to do what they should do and destroy us on the air. That's what they should do. You're the only one that's going to be nice about this. And I don't know why. It's not necessary. This is competition. It's not friendly competition. We want to beat them. We have invaded their bracket.
Okay, hang on.
Our people against their people.
Hang on.
And we're going to win.
Hang on. You were insinuating that because of the fact that I can hand out a dub or take an L and then shake a hand and go, good game, that somehow means I want to win less than you want to win. And that's just flat out untrue. I absolutely want to roll in there, and when the brackets are done and the nets are cut and the ladders are put away and the confetti's being swept up off the floor on a Monday night, I want to look into that bracket challenge and see that not just the Rob Brown Show has filled up the entire front list of the page. I want my bracket to be at the damn top of it. Okay? I don't just want to win. I want to beat Cole, Diesel. I want to beat you. I want to beat every one of you listening right now. But at the same time, when the game ends, there's no problem to me to walk across and shake a hand and go, hey, hell of a game. Hell of a game. You should be proud of yourself. I'm proud of what I did. You should be proud of what you did. Let's get set for the next round of whatever we're competing in. I'm all about it.
Yes. Yeah. There doesn't need to be any sportsmanship here. Here's the thing. When we win, I want to look at them and go, better luck next year, punk. That's what I want to do.
Either way, however your attitude is, here's what I need you to know.
They are not going to be nice to us when they win.
I don't care.
I do. I do.
I will be the bigger man.
Okay. I am the bigger man. Here's the thing. I don't want to give them that satisfaction. We win. We're going to, we beat them, but we expect to be there. If they win, it's going to be a constant barrage of
then beat
barbs heading our direction.
Then beat them.
Well, I want you in the game. You're not done with your bracket yet. Get in the game. Be ready.
Lonzo, why do you think my bracket?
Need to win.
Why do you think my bracket's not done yet? Do you think it's just because I haven't? It's because I'm overthinking it. It's because I'm sitting here like I was last night, putting together Torvik numbers and trying to check out, is there a correlation between number of miles from campus in games played and points per game scored and allowed? I promise you, I'm deep diving this a hell of a lot more than anybody listening to the show is right now. I spent 4.5 hours on first-round games yesterday.
Here's Spartanburg Jay on the stream says, as long as I beat Wire to Wire and Lonzo, I'll be happy. Hey, if you don't beat me, it means all that knowledge, all this stuff that Rob is talking about, it means nothing, and this is just a matter of luck. Because I went through, and I picked my bracket in 5 minutes. So there you go. Don't let the blonde bimbo beat you.
I haven't
okay?
picked.
And if I beat either of the Wire to Wire guys, I am not going to let that go.
Your prerogative, and I'm here to support it. So, the challenge has been laid down. Here's what I'd like. We, here on the Rob Brown Show, you out there in the Armada, we're going to do a bracket contest, but we're not doing a Rob Brown Show bracket contest this year. We have made the Wire to Wire bracket contest now a station-wide bracket contest. We have decided that much like Nash and Hall back in the mid-'90s, we're invading Wire to Wire. I didn't ask for permission. I didn't want permission. In fact, I fully expect that when this thing is all said and done, I'm going to get a post-show email from the boss man that says, see me in my office, and I look forward to it. I didn't ask. I don't need permission. I want y'all to go invade the Wire to Wire bracket challenge. And here's what I want you to do. When you get in there, I want you to name your bracket. And you can name it whatever it is you want to name it. You can name it Rob's Picks. You can name it The Big Show Pick. You name it whatever you want to name it. But out at the end of it, at the end of that pick, of that bracket name, I want you to put TRBS, The Rob Brown Show. TRBS. I want your bracket name to be whatever you want it to be, and then TRBS. Because at the end of this bracket challenge, what I want to see when I go click after the confetti has fallen and one shining moment has echoed across television sets nationwide, I want to go click into this bracket contest, and I want to open it up, and I want to see the entire front page of the leaderboard just filled with bracket name TRBS, bracket name TRBS, bracket name TRBS, bracket name TRBS, top to bottom, the entire thing. I want everybody in the Tolo-verse to know that the Armada, the Rob Brown Show, we know ball. We don't just know ball. We are well above average knowers of ball. We are elite ball knowers on this show, and we're going to prove it. So here's what you got. As we are now sitting inside of 6 hours until the brackets close, you have 5 hours and 56 minutes to get your brackets in if you need an exact time. If you want in, if you want to rep TRBS, if you want to rep the Rob Brown Show, if you want to rep the Armada, if you want to represent yourself, shoot me an email, rob.brown@thefanupstate.com. rob.brown@thefanupstate.com. and I will personally and immediately reply to that email with an invitation link in it. All you got to do, click it, get registered, name your bracket, and put TRBS at the end. It is an Armada takeover of the Wire to Wire Bracket Challenge. Shoot me an email, rob.brown@thefanupstate.com. I will reply with the invite link. Get registered, name your bracket, put TRBS at the end, and let's prove to the world that the best damn sports show in the state of South Carolina has the best damn listeners in the state of South Carolina. Let's bleeping go for the next 3 hours and 40 minutes, because the Rob Brown Show, ladies and gentlemen, is live right here on the Fan Upstate.
You see.
All right, guys, live read right out of the gate. Y'all stay right there. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Putting the BS in TRBS. It's the Rob Brown Show. I got to give Scotty from BMW credit for that joke. That's a good joke. I like that a lot. Well done, Scotty. You know how I found out about that? I found out about that when Scotty texted the Hub City Spartanburgers text line at 844-326-3663, 844-FANFO, 844-326-3663. It is the Hub City Spartanburgers text line, ladies and gentlemen, and it's right there for you. Shoot us a text, and that's the same number to call in to the show, 844-326-3663. Put a contact in your phone, call it the Fan Upstate, and be a part of the program this and every single morning. As we know, the Armada can and the Armada will. We'd love to have you on the show as a texter, as a caller, as a listener, whatever it is, just be a part of it, and we're glad to have you. I am being told, Great One Spartanburg Jay is saying that they can't hear us on the stream. I don't know if that's accurate or not, but we'll find out here in a second. Jay, give us a minute. We'll work on that. Or
maybe he just couldn't hear during the break when we had it off for. I was about
to say, make sure your computer isn't muted louder into the microphone. Because if you couldn't hear me, obviously that's how that would fix it. All right.
Everybody else can hear us, so I'm just saying.
If you want in on the bracket challenge, rob.brown at thefanupstate.com. Rob.brown at thefanupstate.com. I will reply with a link. If you are already registered in the Wire to Wire bracket competition, that is the one that we are using. We are just doing a different, we're doing the same bracket contest in their bracket field because, like the Outsiders in 95, we're just invading. All right? So, if you want in, because like the Outsiders in 95, that's me making a Scott Hall and Kevin Nash reference in the year 2025. That's never going to get old, let's be honest. So we should be good, Jay.
Yeah, so, yeah.
Figure it out, bud. Figure it out. I'm pulling for you, though.
When you said Outsiders, I was thinking the movie with, Pony Boy. And,
Come out to play.
Nope, that's the Warriors.
Yeah, no, I know.
Any star that became a mega star was in that, just about.
Like I was going
Swayze and,
with the soon-to-be Don't Turn Your Back on the Wolfpack reference, which is a good one. So, send me an email, rob.brown at thefanupstate.com. We are invading the wire-to-wire bracket competition. Put TRBS at the end of your bracket name, and then let's go win the damn thing, all right? So, I talked a little bit about this yesterday. I wanted to get a little bit more into it today. The Clemson Tigers have themselves a heck of a matchup right out of the gate. They are taking on McNeese State. And I will tell you that this McNeese State basketball team is good. It's good. Out of the Southland Conference, they won 21 games this year. And I don't care what conference you're in. That's an impressive feat.
You have me convinced on this. So I hope you're right. I want you to know.
For the record, I haven't given my pick on this game yet. What I've said is I think this game's going to be a barn burner. I'll throw out the one gambling pick I've made on this game so far, and that is I am playing the under in this game. It is set at, I have seen it over the last couple of days since Selection Sunday. I have seen it as high as 134.5. I've seen it as low as 131.5. I don't care if they bump it down to 128.5. I'm taking the under in this game, and I'll take the under in this game for one reason and one reason alone. Both of these teams thrive, live, and die on a suffocating defense. And neither one of them really has a top-level scoring threat. They got guys that can play. Both teams got guys that can play. We've talked quite a bit about Ian Shefflin and Victor Lockett. We talked about these guys before. They're good players. Over on the other side, when you're talking about McNeese State, they've got a couple of guys that average up over 16, 17 points per game. And they are names that you will know by the end of the day. Suffocating defense is what has gotten these teams where they are. It's what got Clemson to set a record for ACC wins in a single season. So, there's a couple of different angles, a couple of different reasons why at 3:20 this afternoon when this game tips off, I am going to be absolutely locked in, because it is, to me, despite the fact that a lot of people are trying to say it is UC San Diego over Michigan, I honestly think that if there's going to be a 5-12 upset, this is the one it's most likely to be. And there's a couple of different reasons for it. Number one, it's just the fact that it's two teams with similar play styles. Both teams with suffocating defenses. Both teams that want to out-rebound you. McNeese State has got a couple of guys that'll get you 11, 12 plus boards per game. These are good players. This is a good team. And they want to keep you to a 41, 42% field goal percentage while they go shoot 46, 47%. Well, guess what? The same is true for the Clemson Tigers, and I think there's something to be said for that. So, that is one angle. Two teams that play a similar style, and it does feel like it could very well be one of those games where whoever is better at doing the thing they're best at is going to be the team that wins this game. There's a second aspect to this that I'm really intrigued by, and that is McNeese State head coach Will Wade, who, by the way, yesterday accepted a contract to move on to be the next head coach for the North Carolina State University Wolfpack. Second Wolfpack in this segment. He's moving on to NCSU next year. He will coach McNeese State through the tournament before he packs it up and heads up to Tobacco Road. Will Wade is a Clemson guy. Played his ball there, graduated in 2005, moved into a graduate assistant role, got his first administrative job at Clemson, was there for a couple of years before he got hired to move up. Went up to Harvard, went up to VCU, got hired for a big-time job at LSU, got caught up in a recruiting scandal, was relieved of his duties with the Bayou Bengals, and then was on his way. Then it was VCU. Now it's McNeese State. Now he's on his way back to the ACC to head coach at NCSU. Will Wade is an interesting angle to this game because he gave a clip yesterday. Now, I was going to play it here, but it's got some length to it, so I'm going to hang on to it a little bit because I'll just play it for you in the next segment, because I do think that for Clemson, 7.5-point favorites in this game, the over-under is settled at 133.5. I do think this is an interesting game to talk about. McNeese State has the third highest win percentage in Division I basketball over the past 2 years, higher than Duke. It's a good basketball program. And Will Wade is a guy that I think flips this game on its head, because I think this matchup with Clemson matters a lot to him. I've got the sound because he was asked yesterday. Why is this so important to you? Why do you, for instance, cancel basketball practices on days that Clemson was playing football? And Will gave an answer, and I heard it. Maybe I'm reading into it. Maybe just because I'm a broadcaster or a radio guy, I'm looking for drama. But I got some. We'll play that audio. We'll talk about this matchup, the X's and O's. O's. You want them? Stick around. Don't go anywhere. The Rob Brown Show is on the Fan Upstate.
Yeah, I got the tinkle. So, we'll be right back.
I'm Tony Desiri with your sports update on the Fan Upstate. Major League Baseball, the Yankees have 7 games remaining on their spring training schedule. Braves will play the Yankees tonight in Tampa. They open up the regular season
That's also
a week from Thursday.
Okay, I'm just checking.
That's from yesterday.
Seeing if there's one of them that's actually right.
I'm Tony Desiri with your sports update on the Fan Upstate. The NASCAR Cup Series will be back in action Sunday, racing at Homestead, Miami, the Straight Talk Wireless 400. Last year, Tyler Reddick won the race in October. It'll be 267 laps around the track. The Truck Series and the Xfinity Series will both race at Miami this weekend. College basketball, Furman playing in the opening round.
Will Wade is the head coach of the McNeese State Cowboys. That is the 12 seed that Clemson, as a 5 seed, has drawn in the opening round of the March Madness Men's College Basketball National Championship Tournament. Will Wade, as we mentioned, Clemson guy, played some ball there, graduated back in 2005, went on to become a graduate assistant, would work his way into a coaching administrative role before he moved on and up, ended up eventually as the head coach at LSU, was removed from that position after an FBI investigation found out that he had committed some pretty big recruiting violations at the time, was fired, moved on to VCU, is now at McNeese State, and is not just considered one of the biggest coaching names in college basketball. Yesterday announced that he would be taking the head coaching job for North Carolina State University, a very proud program within the Atlantic Coast Conference, a conference, that, as I have said a couple of times, I genuinely think is going to recognize over the next year or two that they need to start putting a little emphasis on going back to being the best basketball conference in America, which they are just flat out not even close to that right now. That means NC State believes Will Wade's going to be a good head coach. Will Wade is a good head coach. You can take all the recruiting violations and all that happened at LSU, and I will say 2 things. Number one, they were absolutely bad. He absolutely deserved to be fired for them. On the other hand, I think there's probably a lot of coaches that have acted, done, and said the exact same things that Will Wade did and said during his time at LSU that just ain't got caught yet. And that's, I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's fair. I'm not saying that that's a reason Will Wade shouldn't have been terminated from LSU. I'm just saying I think he was doing kind of what a lot of guys are doing. He just got busted up for it. That's why NC State is going to be the team that says, you know what, we believe in second chances, give it a shot. Now, Will Wade is a very interesting cat. I want to play you 2 clips here. Clip number 1 is from when Will Wade was back at VCU. There was a year where VCU went to back-to-back tournament appearances under Will Wade. You'll remember that VCU has had a pretty shocking amount of success in the tournament. A good chunk of that was when Will Wade was there. Will Wade had a conversation where he told the story of a couple of guys who showed up to take a trip with the Rams of Virginia Commonwealth University who didn't wear the team-issued gear.
We had 2 guys who didn't wear VCU-issued gear on the flight. They wore their own stylish, whatever it may be. Well, that's selfishness. You could say, oh, it doesn't really matter. No, that stuff matters. If we get on the bus to go to Old Dominion and you're not in VCU gear, your ass is going right back to the dorm and the bus is leaving. I don't care. I don't care who it is. Because we're not going to win with you because you're in the total wrong frame of mind when you get on the bus. But we had 2 guys who didn't wear VCU issued.
Okay, well, I was going to go on again, but you get the point. You get the point there. The point there was that Will Wade said, look, we had a couple of guys. They showed up. They wanted to go on the roadie. They started wearing their own stuff. They started wearing their own wardrobe. They had their own fashion. We don't do that here. You rock the same team issue gear as everybody else because it makes you look and feel like a team. And Will Wade's exactly right. As much as I am and always have been and probably always will be player supportive and back said players, I also understand that there are spots where players have to recognize I'm part of a team. And I need to be part of the team because while you can do your own thing and have individual success, if you want the team to be successful, you've got to be a part of the team. This was always a big deal to me, even when I was coaching low-level basketball, middle school, low high school. I was on board. And I went so far when I was coaching low-level high school basketball, freshman-level basketball, I went so far as to say to the kids on my team, you guys can pick what you want to wear on game day. You can wear a suit and tie to school that day. You can wear a school polo and khakis as a squad. Hell, you can come in blue jeans and your basketball jersey to school if you want. I don't care what it is. You can decide that as a team, but whatever you decide as a team, you will wear as a team. You will be a team. You will dress as a team. You will look as a team. You will have a team vibe because I believe that if you have that during the day, then it comes out in the night when the ball gets tossed in the air for the tip. So that's the kind of guy Will Wade is as a head coach. Again, I'm not sitting here saying Will Wade didn't make some massive mistakes at LSU. I think a lot of guys have done that. I think Will Wade got caught. I think he made some massive and egregious mistakes at LSU. I think it cost them a job at a university that was very excited to have him. And if he had the success at LSU that he's had in other places he's been, Will Wade would have been a very rich man during his time at Baton Rouge, Louisiana, because that school wants to go back to the Pistol Pete Maravich days of greatness, the Shaquille O'Neal days of greatness. And Will Wade, I think, would have been the guy to get him there. That's the kind of guy Will Wade is as a coach when working with his players. And what I will say is that during his time at LSU, during his time at VCU, during his time at McNeese State, I haven't heard a story about the guy. I haven't heard a story that players don't like him, that he's gone too far, that players aren't on board. In fact, quite the opposite. In the last couple of days since Election Sunday, when I've been brushing up on where McNeese State is out of the Southland Conference, the exact opposite is true. I found nothing but guys that went, I love Will. I'd play for Will again. If I had a kid, I'd let them play for Will. And I like that. Now, in a press conference getting set up for this contest with his alum, with his Clemson Tigers, Will got asked a question that was very interesting, and he revealed quite a bit about how his schedule as the head coach at McNeese State still very much revolves around Clemson.
Why be open? Why be honest? Why share the truth?
Well, all the players know we don't practice when Clemson plays football. I mean, they know they got those 3 hours on a Saturday. They know. I mean, so they all know I'm a Clemson. I mean, they joke with me about it, and we had to change our pregame schedule up around the ACC title game this year. It took them too long to kick the damn field goal. You know, I mean, they all know that. I mean, you know, look, I've always been at, you know, I'm at an FCS football school now. I was at VCU for a while who had no football. Now, it was a little hairy when LSU played Clemson for the national title when I was at LSU. But, I mean, they all know that. I mean, that's the one kind of reprieve I have is I like watching their football program play. So it was no secret. It was no secret to them. One of my assistants is one of the all-time great players at Clemson. He's still top 5 in steals at Clemson. I was a manager. He was obviously a player. I always joke in recruiting between the two of us. He scored over 1,000 points. He just scored them all. So he's a big Clemson guy. So our guys know that. But that's not going to, I mean, look, I follow the basketball program, and baseball, loosely, not as close as football. So they all know that. But I mean, I graduated in 05, so I'm a relic. So I mean, it won't be any different when we're playing them. It's the first time I've played against them.
Will Wade, Clemson guy. Said, look, if we got practice and Clemson is playing, practice is moved. We'll move it up in the day. We'll move it back in the day. We'll move it to another day. But if the Tigers was playing football, my boys weren't on the hardwood because I was parked in front of a TV.
Fire him.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, fire him. Here's the thing. If you go to another place, you need to be completely committed to that place. This is ridiculous. It is, and you may think that I'm saying this just because he's a Clemson fan. It wouldn't matter. Well, and you'd be wrong. It wouldn't matter if he was an Ohio State fan, Michigan fan, a Texas fan, Alabama fan. I don't care. You went to that school. You commit to that school. It has nothing to do with that other school. That's ridiculous. You're saying your loyalties are elsewhere. You're just there doing a job. I don't want to. First of all, I don't want to play for that guy. And if I'm an employer, I have a problem with that guy doing that. It's ridiculous, and it needs to stop. Now I'm going to have to go in and change my pick because I had them upsetting Clemson. Just because I thought it was funny. Clemson's not going anywhere in the tournament anyway. Might as well be out in the first. And this will make me go back. Actually, I'm going to go back and change my pick right now and pick Clemson because that's ridiculous. I am so offended right now.
I don't have any issue with it at all. I don't have an issue with it because I think one of the things that we historically do in sports is we see guys that make it to top levels. And again, I'm not going to sit here and argue McNeese State is like a top level, FBS caliber basketball job. What I am going to say is Will Wade now has one going to NC State.
I just changed my bracket, by the way, and picked Clemson to win because of that. That's just, oh, man. This is probably the worst thing I've heard in the radio all year so far. So ridiculous.
I do not expect, I never have expected players, coaches, whatever, to not also be fans of the sport they play or that they coach. Of course they are. The likelihood that somebody makes it to that level of coaching without loving the sport and therefore probably having grown up with a team, played with a team that still has a soft spot in their heart, I'm not going to expect them to do that. And if my dude is simply saying, hey, man, we do a little workaround for the 12 times a year that Clemson plays 12 guaranteed times a year Clemson plays football, all right, fine. McNeese State won 21 games, a Southland Conference championship, punched a ticket to March, and not only punched a ticket to March, but is the second most popular 12-5 upset pick. And I'm going to tell you, the most popular of Michigan being upset by UC San Diego in round one, I think is not going to happen. I don't have an issue with it. It is what it is. The guy's a damn good coach. If he wasn't, NC State wouldn't be hiring him to come coach. And by the way, NC State plays Clemson every year. They share a conference. So if they say, yeah, this guy still wants to win more than he's a Clemson fan, we don't care if he's a Clemson fan as long as he wins, I'm good with that too. So what I will say is this. As much as he showed an immense amount of respect, according to Lonzo, too much respect to Clemson in that take right there. It is also, I believe, indicative of the fact that this dude's absolutely going to want to beat his alma mater. This dude's absolutely going to want to put the exclamation point of his time at McNeese State, a school that served as a stepping stone for a man with a very dark mark on his coaching history to elevate himself back up into what has historically been, though it is definitively not now, the basketball conference, the Atlantic Coast Conference.
Cannot trust that guy to put his heart into beating his alma mater. Cannot trust that guy to make the hard decisions late in the game. You can't trust him for anything because Clemson's more important to him than the place where he works. Ridiculous.
So, Zoe, you and I have had this discussion. In this take, I'm going to say this.
I am a loyalty guy. You know I am. If I wasn't loyal, I wouldn't be here.
So
Let me ask you a
question. Let me ask you a question then. We get to the NCAA football playoffs this upcoming year, and the Ohio State Buckeyes win the Big Ten, and wango bango, they're back into the Big 12 or into the college football playoffs. Would it be fair of me to jump on the mic and go, Zoe, you can't have a take on the playoffs because I can't trust you to give objective analysis on the Ohio State Buckeyes on the playoffs with the Buckeyes in because you can't put your loyalty above the job. I don't think that would be fair.
By the way, two different kind of jobs. What I say about the Buckeyes does not affect how a team plays against them. What this guy does affects how his team plays against his alma mater.
What you say and do absolutely impacts the quality of this show and station, right?
Doesn't impact the players.
I don't care about that.
This is another analogy that does not work. It does not work. And in the end, your name is on the show. If you say, I don't want you to talk about this, I won't talk about it. And I'll completely understand. But what I say on the air would not affect how those players play.
No.
Because I'm not coaching the opposite team.
But it does.
He is, and that is ridiculous.
But it does impact.
I can't believe you're on the side of this guy. This is it's shocking to me that you're okay with him doing this.
I very much am.
Wow.
What you say and do does impact this show. It does impact this station, and that should be according to your line of logic.
Doesn't impact the team.
It impacts this show and this station, which I care about more than the McNeese State Cowboys, shockingly. And so if I truly believed in my heart of hearts that you would not be putting your all into doing the best show we can possibly do, then following your line of logic here, I should say, if the Buckeyes are alive, Zoe can't talk football because that would be bad for the show. I don't believe that. I don't agree with it. I don't have that take, and I would never. So I don't know. I don't have a problem with what he just said and did.
I'm not going to say that I respectfully disagree because I don't think you can respectfully disagree. I disagree with you.
You also don't believe in friendly competition.
I do not.
Here's what I'll say, Clemson fans. What I would say is this. I feel the exact opposite, Lonzo. I think, if nothing else, what I would look at after hearing that speech is this guy has an opportunity to cap off his time with the McNeese State Cowboys by knocking off his alma mater, by knocking off his Tigers at the door. What an exclamation point on his time there. I got to think that's motivation to go win this game.
If he wins, he will cry and then probably apologize to the team for beating them.
Well, according to you, he's not going to win. He's going to throw the game.
Well, I absolutely went and changed my pick. I had Clemson losing, but now I have them winning.
All right, we're going to find out today.
Hey, get that guy out of here.
I mean, he is out of there. He's going to NC State.
No.
Against Clemson every year.
Get him out of the tournament. He hurts the integrity of the entire thing. Let's go.
This is like the most passionate take you've had since the playoffs in football. I'm impressed by that.
Wow.
Wow. That's what I say after Lonzo reads the Sports Flash.
If I can get
that was a good segue. That's a good segue.
The NCAA Championship Basketball Tournament tips off with a slate of 16 games today, starting at 12:15 when 9-seed Creighton takes on 8-seed Louisville. 5-seed Clemson tips off at 3:15 on True TV against 12-seed McNeese State and their alma mater guy. McNeese State shoots 48% from the field and are averaging 78 points across their last 10 games and are averaging 2 more rebounds per game than Clemson, but it doesn't matter. They're still going to lose. Minutemen Xavier are in after knocking off Texas 86-80 last night. 4 starters reached double digits, including Marcus Foster with 22 and Zach Fremantle with 15. Tune in this afternoon from 3 to 7 p.m. for Wire to Wire. Cole Bryson Diesel ride shotgun on your drive home and get you up to date on all the latest local and national sports news right here on The Fan. Not a joke, by the way, not a work. That really bothers me.
I'm Chuck Sanders. Here's the Sports Flash presented by Progressive. Clemson men's basketball ready for action in the NCAA tournament against McNeese State. The matchup set for a 3:15 tip-off this afternoon.
Zach, if you're still there, I picked Duke to win it all.
The Dukies.
But, I don't really know basketball, so that's probably a bad pick.
It's not a bad pick. I was looking at something like 14% of brackets have Duke picked to win it, which is one of the higher numbers.
I have Duke versus Michigan State in the championship game. I'm just a blonde bimbo down the hall, so don't go with that. I mean, I'm sure I'm not going to be right at all. Did I do my usual bunch of Big Ten teams? I think I did. Yes, I have 4 Big Ten teams in the Final Four. I do that every year. I mean,
Yes, you do. I remember
but all the ones
I think you had all of them in last year.
hey, Michigan State's a 2 seed, Wisconsin's a 3 seed, Purdue's a 4 seed. I mean, it's not like I picked bad teams.
Here we go. Hour numero dos of the Rob Brown Show underway right now. Welcome in. Rob Brown, the great one, Lonzo, and with you this and every weekday morning from 6 a.m. till 10 a.m. The 4 most electrifying hours of sports talk entertainment you're going to find anywhere. All gas, no brakes, full send, YOLO, and yeet every day. I was going to say all day, but it's not. It's till 10 a.m. All morning, but that doesn't rhyme. It's not as much
But here's the thing. Thanks to the free Odyssey app, it can be all day if you want it to be.
It absolutely can.
You can play back to back to back to back to back to back, however many it takes to go 24 hours of this show. You could do that.
You could listen to
That'll
this show
be like
6 times a day.
Yeah. 6 times 4 is 24. Yeah, thank you.
Math is hard. That's why I try to.
I was going to say 8.
That's why I try not to. I try not to do math as often as possible. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got a lot we're doing on the radio broadcast today. We got a lot we're talking about on the radio broadcast today. Obviously, quite a bit of collegiate basketball as the March Madness tournament, which I can say, as I am not selling anything in this segment, kicks off here in just a few hours from right now. And we are going to break down some more first round opening day games coming up here very shortly. We have already spent some time on Clemson and McNeese State, a 5-12 matchup that I think, if there is a 5-12 matchup, as there is just about every year, I think honestly is the most likely of the 5-12 upsets.
So there have been years where that doesn't happen, right?
Yeah. As a matter of fact, did it? I don't recall if it happened last year.
Because I think it's in everyone's heads. Oh, it's going to happen this year. It happens every year, and people may go through and pick something thinking it's going to be just because you have to pick one.
I'm going to go. Let's see. Let's go back. Let's see. I thought it maybe didn't happen last year. San Diego State the 5 seed one. No, it did happen last year. 12 seed James Madison knocked off 5 seed Wisconsin last year. Last year we had, Gonzaga was the 5 seed and they won. Oh, and the 12 seed Grand Canyon Antelopes knocked off St. Mary's last year. So we had 2 of them happen last year. And again, I think there's absolutely possibility for 2 to happen again this year. I think there are 2, the Lopes.
The Lopes.
I think there's 2 that are most likely. Clemson, McNeese is one of them that I would keep an eye on. Michigan, UC San Diego is one of them. With all due respect to my guy Denton Day, a Liberty Flames grad, I do not think that they are going to be able to get Oregon, and your other 5-12 matchup is Memphis, Colorado State. I actually do have, as I'll give you some of my bracket reveal as the show rolls on, I actually do have Colorado State upsetting Memphis, which would be a 12-5 matchup. I have 2 12-5 upsets in round 1. I'll tell you what the other one is later on in the show. Stick around. That's called a tease. You're welcome. So, we're going to talk more bracketology. But before we do, I want to remind you that this year, instead of doing a Rob Brown Show bracket challenge, Lonzo and I, it's just a couple of natural-born heels. Just a couple of guys that love being the bad guys. Hey, yo. Not that one, Pat.
To the bad guy.
That one.
Say hello.
Dang it.
To the bad guy.
Really
that
cool.
doesn't work for me, brother.
Real cool Scott Hall moment there, and I blew it. Lonzo and I, a couple natural-born heels. We decided, you know what we're doing this year? We're not asking permission. We're just seizing the moment. We're doing an invasion. We're doing a WCW NWO invasion. We, collectively, the Rob Brown Show, you, the Armada, we are invading the wire-to-wire bracket challenge. We're going to do our bracket challenge in their bracket pool. We're going to do our bracket competition in their bracket competition so that when it's all said and done and the nets get cut and the confetti's being swept off the hard one and one shining moment has come and gone and the 2025 March Madness basketball tournament is entered into the annals of history, we're going to open.
Yeah, that's what we're gonna. That's what I'm gonna do. I don't know what he's gonna do. He's gonna reach across the aisle and shake hands. No. If we win, they're gonna know we won.
Quick question: when your son was a wrestler, and he ended a match, did you not instruct him to shake the hand of his opponent and say congratulations or nice job, nice effort, see you in the next one? Or did you say, I want you to stand across from him, I want you to cross your arms in front of your chest, and then I want you to full pelvic thrust right in that man's face and let him know you dominated?
All right, Rob, so there are amateur sports, and what
This
you do in
is
high
amateur
school.
sports.
We are not amateurs. We are paid professionals. I don't think of you as an amateur. I'm guessing you don't think of you as an amateur.
That depends on what day you ask me.
We are paid professionals, okay? I get paid to win, all right? That's what I want to do.
Here's what we're doing. We're taking the Armada, we're raising the mainsails, and we are sailing off into the wire-to-wire bracket challenge so that when Luther is done singing and a banner starts to be printed to hang in a coliseum somewhere next year, we're all going to go over to the bracket challenge and we're going to open it up into the leaderboard. You're going to see bracket name TRBS, bracket name TRBS, bracket name TRBS, bracket name TRBS, bracket name TRBS from the top to the bottom of the leaderboard. We are taking over to prove to wire-to-wire, to the Tolos, that the Armada knows ball. So here's what I want you to do. If you want in on the bracket challenge, and oh, by the way, the highest Rob Brown Show bracket in that bracket pool, like we have done every year since I got here, will get an opportunity at any point in the next 365 days until the tournament starts next year to call your shot, to come on the show, to have a segment, to talk about whatever you want to talk about. You can come in and talk smack about your rivals. You can come in and talk about how your head coach is the greatest of all time. You can come in and talk about how Rob Brown learned yesterday that there's one particular Cheez-It factory that makes better Cheez-Its than all the other Cheez-It factories, and we can do a whole segment on that. We might later. We'll find out. The point here is, If you were the highest Rob Brown Show bracket in the bracket challenge.
I just so much lost this week. I'm intrigued by the Cheez-It thing.
Oh, we're coming to that. Audio Blitz coming up in 1 hour. No Lulu Kesson today. She got pushed to tomorrow because she has been asked to give a speech to a young and up-and-coming broadcasting and journalism class, which, of course, she had. Lulu Kesson is a phenom in the world of sports journalism right now. We'll talk to her when she joins us tomorrow at 8 o'clock.
So awesome to meet her in person.
She's the best. She's great. At 8 o'clock, we'll do your Audio Blitz. I actually have audio for that. We'll come to that later. It's going to be great. So, if you want in, you want to rep the Armada, you want to rep the Rob Brown Show, hell, you just want to represent yourself in the bracket competition. What you got to do is shoot me an email right now, rob.brown@thefanupstate.com, rob.brown@thefanupstate.com. Just request an invitation, and I will shoot it right back over to you, probably within just mere moments.
Why do we not have a lunch wager on this?
Me and you, or us and them?
Us and them.
Make it happen. I'm in. I'm in because I know ball. I'll win us a free lunch.
All right. So yeah, but see, it has to be combined. So as bad as I am, you have to be that much better.
I think the top bracket between the four of us, the other show buys lunch. I'm good with that.
So you don't want to do combined. I mean, we're teams here. I think it should be combined.
Do you want them combined? I'm in if you are.
I do. It's
okay.
It's us against them, not us individually against.
So average score of the show combined between both brackets on both hosts. Losing team buys lunch. You send that request over to Wire, and if they accept, I'm all in.
All right, I'll text them after 8 o'clock. Let them get their rest.
Sleep.
Yeah.
Cole Bryson's up right now. He's one of those weirdo early risers. He's 100% awake right now. Shoot me an email, rob.brown@thefanupstate.com, rob.brown@thefanupstate.com. Josh just sent me an email that just popped into the inbox a second ago. He's getting a link. You can too, rob.brown@thefanupstate.com. I'm going to reply with the link to an invitation to the bracket competition. Here's what you're going to do. You're going to go in, you're going to register, you're going to fill out your bracket, and then you're going to name that bracket. And what I want you to do is name your bracket. I don't care what you name it. Name it anything that you want to. And then at the end of the bracket name, I want you to put TRBS, The Rob Brown Show. Bracket name, TRBS, as the end of that name. That way we can identify all of the Armada brackets within this bracket competition that has evolved into a station-wide, a show versus show bracket competition. And we're going to see how they all stack up at the end of the dance. Rob.brown@thefanupstate.com. Shoot me an email asking for the link. I will pop it over to you in just mere seconds. Let's go prove to the world the Armada doesn't just know ball, but they are elite knowers of ball. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for the water cooler cheat sheet.
Are you ready for the playbook of the peculiar? The almanac of the absurd? And the encyclopedia of the extraordinary? Well, you better be, because we're diving headfirst into the 3 top stories that will have your coworkers saying,
"No kind of Sandys, you're wrong."
before they take their first bathroom break.
No.
Here we go. Welcome to the water cooler cheat sheet on the Fan Upstate.
It's the water cooler cheat sheet, the top 3 sports stories you need to know before you get to the office and start tacking sports with your coworkers this morning. Once you do, this is what you will be talking about. Let us dive right in to item number 1. We won't spend a ton of time on this because we're going to spend a ton of time on this moving forward. Ladies and gentlemen, the play-in tournament has concluded. The tournament starts today. Last night, Xavier knocked off Texas 86-80 was your final in that one. The Musketeers on their way to the dance after eliminating the Texas Longhorns. You had 22 points out of Marcus Foster, 15 out of Zach Fremantle. This team shot 55% from the floor. They shot 48% from range. They out-rebounded everything went right for these Xavier Musketeers last night, and their reward is a trip to the dance. They are not alone because another team qualified last night. That would be Mount St. Mary's. The Mountaineers knock off the American University Eagles last night. 83-72 was your final. 24 for Jenny Cordelia, 22 for Dola Adebayo, 17 for Dallas Hobbs, all out of the starting role. You thought the 55% Xavier shot was impressive. How about 58% from the floor? For Mount St. Mary's last night, they also shot 41% from range, and they out-rebounded American 24-18 when it was all said and done. Their reward, an opportunity to join the Musketeers inside of the bracket. And we get started today. We get started early. 12:15 this afternoon, number 9, Creighton. The Blue Jays start an all-birds opening contest as they take on the Louisville Cardinals at Rupp Arena in Lexington, Kentucky. High Point and Purdue at 12:40, just 25 minutes later. Then at 1:30, Montana, the Grizz, taking on the Badgers of Wisconsin at 1:30 p.m. SIU and Houston, a 1 seed, your first 1 seed in action at 2 o'clock out in Wichita. The Auburn Tigers, the number 1 overall seed, will open up their tournament run at 2:50 p.m. when they take on Alabama State. And then at 3:15 this afternoon, the Clemson Tigers, 7.5-point favorites, will do their darndest to avoid being the 12-5 upset in the opening round when they take on Will Wade and his McNeese State Cowboys. We're talking a lot of tournament basketball today. We'll keep rolling with that as the show rolls on, but we got more we got to get to in the water cooler cheat sheet, so let's get to item number 2. After the massive success of the Four Nations Face-Off, which took place during the NHL's All-Star break, Gary Bettman, the commish of the NHL, said yesterday that the league is prepared to roll out something, quote, entirely different, end quote. In February of 2026, when the New York Islanders were set to host the world's top skaters at UBS Arena for the NHL All-Star Game. But it may not be an All-Star Game. Bettman said yesterday, quote, "We're reevaluating how we want to do things because I think we've raised the bar about as high as you can for an all-star game in any sport, and we want to make sure whatever we do is up to the standards that we have created." The Four Nations Face-Off was the league's first foray into a best-on-best international competition since 2016 when the NHL staged the Hockey World Cup. It was a tremendous success. It was the talk of the town for a hot minute there. And because it was so good, now the NHL says, as NHL Deputy Commissioner Bill Daley said, quote, "Everything is on the table for what may come next." Now, it's going to be a couple of weeks before we have any momentum on this because the NHL and the NHL Players Association will be sitting down on April 1st for their next round of collective bargaining agreement negotiations because the CBA as it stands expires in September 2026. And both teams will need to agree on a plan for the All-Star Game. But I got to think, because hockey players are a different breed of cat, that they are going to be on board with doing something different and special. We will find out. I told you when this went down, this thing was such a success. I suspect we have probably, with the exception of Major League Baseball, seen the last of traditional all-star games at the highest level. The NFL ditched the traditional Pro Bowl years ago. I think the NHL is next. The NBA will follow in line. The only sport that we will have a true all-star game in will end up being Major League Baseball. We'll talk more about that later on in the show, but we've got to rip through item number 3. The NFL's competition committee will be meeting up very soon in order to discuss potential rule changes that will go into effect in the 2025 season. Now, we have talked about some of them so far. Some teams want to see a ban of the tush push or brotherly shove or whatever you want to call it. Yesterday, the Detroit Lions proposed a significant NFL rule change that would impact just about everybody. Under the Lions' proposal, the division winner with the conference's best record would still receive the number 1 overall seed in an opening round bye in the NFL playoffs. But every team after that would be stacked in the seeding based on regular season records, not whether they won their divisions or received wild card berths. That is to say, if you were a wild card winner, but you won 14 games in the division, a la the Minnesota Vikings, you would not have to go on the road. You would host. That approach could have a significant effect on the Lions, on the NFC North, really on the entire NFC last year. The Lions and Minnesota Vikings finished 15-2, 14-3, and BT Dubs, if you were keeping track, the Green Bay Packers finished 11-6. If this rule was in place, the Lions, who received the NFC's number 1 seed, but the Vikings were seeded number 5 and the Packers number 7, would have seen that shift around based purely on records. The Vikings would have been the 3 seed. They would have hosted in the opening round. I'm sure the Vikings would have loved that compared to what did happen. The Packers would have been the 5 seed instead of the 7 seed. Now, this has been proposed before. Back in 2023, the LA Chargers made a similar proposal. It had very little support. Proposals require at least 24 votes to be approved, but owners are generally more likely to approve proposals that are endorsed by the competition committee rather than individual teams. We will find out if this is going to go, and we will talk more about it coming up on the show. Owners are scheduled, if you're curious about it, to meet March 30th through April 2nd in West Palm Beach, Florida. They will discuss this rule and others, and I'll tell you about those coming up in the very next segment of The Rob Brown Show and The Fan Upstate. I don't know why I got creepy at the end of that. I have no idea why I got creepy at the end of that.
It's okay. Sometimes we get creepy, apparently. How?
I was going to say...
How?
We don't like that.
We'll be back. I got to do a thing.
circle back around to college basketball coming up here in just a little while from now. However, we're going to talk a little NFL here for just a minute. By the way, if you want in on our bracket competition, we are invading the wire-to-wire bracket pool so that we can point out just how damn good the Armada is. If you want in, rob.brown@thefanupstate.com. rob.brown@thefanupstate.com. Just request the link, and I will send it over to you. When you get your bracket in, selected, and registered, when you name your bracket, please put TRBS at the end of your bracket name. So name it whatever you want, but make sure TRBS is at the end of it so we can identify the Rob Brown Show listeners within that bracket competition. TRBS at the end of your bracket name. Shoot me an email to rob.brown@thefanupstate.com, and we will get you in and registered. Do have to remind you that the brackets lock very soon. We have our first game at 12:15. When that game tips, the brackets will be locked. So if you want in, you need to get in right now. rob.brown@thefanupstate.com. Send your request. I will send a link to you to get in, to get registered. Select your bracket, name it, put TRBS at the end of the name, get them locked in before the first tip at 12:15 between Creighton and
So is this like a hostile takeover on our part, like a corporation thing, or is this a pirate invasion?
This is the outsiders and Hogan being the third man, invading WCW back in the day. It's the invasion, man. It is us walking in with a can of black spray paint and just spray painting TRBS all over the place. We got to let the people know who the hell we are. I want to get Lonzo, I just figured it out. I just figured out what we're doing. We're making Rob Brown Show shirts, but we're gonna put TRBS across the front in the Outsiders font. That's what we're doing. That's our next project.
I don't know if that's copywritten.
I mean, I don't think you can trademark a font unless you're like Disney or Coca-Cola. I don't think anybody can just trademark. I don't know. I'm an idiot. I don't know. I don't even know why I'm saying that. I have no idea if that's true or not. I'm just gonna assume until I'm told it is. That it is.
Don't you know a guy who makes T-shirts?
I sure do. I'm sure do. We may just have to get a couple of exclusives printed up. Just especially if we win this damn thing. That might be the catalyst to a little merch, man. All right, let's talk some NFL here for just a minute, as we were talking about just ever so briefly seconds ago. A handful of rules changes have been proposed by teams to the National Football League Competition Committee. Now, there are two ways that rules in the NFL can be changed. Both of them end with a vote, but the rules changes can be proposed one of two ways. Number one, teams may make the proposals. And number two, the competition committee itself may make a proposal for a rule change. Once the proposal is approved, it can be brought up for a vote by the 32 owners of the National Football League. And if 24 or more of them agree, then that rule is officially changed. Here are the rules proposal changes that have been put forward so far. Number one, a banning of the tush push, the brotherly shove, the Jalen Hurts special. The Green Bay Packers submitted a request for the tush push to be banned. The rule they have proposed would prevent players from, quote, pushing a teammate that is lined up directly behind the snapper and receives the snap immediately at the snap. Effectively, if a player lines up and takes a snap from under the center, that player may not be pushed, shoved, yanked, or yoinked in any direction after he receives that snap if it is immediate. Now, one of the problems I think you're going to see with this is I think There's a workaround, which is instead of having, let's say, Jalen Hurts take the ball and do as Jalen Hurts does, which is, I've explained this a bunch of times, how this play actually works. He does not just start going forward. He actually takes a slight step to the left, gets in between the center and the left guard, and they create a Spartan phalanx to drive forward. I think you'll probably see Hurts do something like take a step back, then wedge in there. And maybe that's enough to stop the play. I don't know. We'll see if it breaks down. I don't think it's going to, but we'll find out. Proposal number 2, a proposal that would eliminate the automatic first down that comes with an illegal contact or defensive holding penalty. This penalty was also submitted by the Lions. Shockingly, they led the league last season with 11 flags for defensive holding. All of those 11 automatically resulted in a first down. Rule change proposal number 3, submitted by the Philadelphia Eagles, your reigning, defending Super Bowl champions. The Eagles propose that both teams be guaranteed one possession in overtime during the regular season. Now, that rule's already in play in the playoffs, but it is not the regular season. In the regular season, we are still playing by the rules that if the first team to touch the football scores a tutty, the ball game comes to an immediate conclusion. This one, I don't know if it is going to happen or not. Why? Because the only reason the NFL overtime rules are the way that they are is so that game X does not roll over into the following game. They don't want to have a spot where the first 5, 10, hell, maybe first quarter of the second game window is delayed or just flat out not televised because the other game, going back and forth multiple possessions, ends up stretching any longer than it needs to. So they said, hey, look, if somebody scores right out of the gate, ball game, let's move on. But then in the overtime, in the postseason, they go the other direction. I honestly think this one's going to pass, but we'll come to that here in just a little while. The Pittsburgh Steelers have put forward a proposal that would, quote, allow direct contact between pending free agents and teams that are pursuing them during the 3-day negotiating window that precedes the opening of the league year. Listen, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that off the top of my head I know every single little rule, intricate, intimate of the NFL rulebook as far as contact between players and teams. That 3-day window, we call it the legal tampering period. Coaches and teams can basically have contact with agents, but not players directly, which I think is dumb. I don't know if it's going to pass or not. I suspect every single player will likely be in support of this. We'll see. I don't know. And then another proposal submitted by multiple teams that would allow preparing K-balls. These are footballs that are used exclusively by and for kicking, that are used for kicking before game day, as teams are allowed to do with the balls that are used on other plays. So basically, a quarterback can go into the equipment room the day before a game, and as long as he inflates them properly and correctly, they can go in there and they can manipulate that ball. They can rough it up. They can take some sandpaper to it, give it a little extra texture, whatever it is that quarterbacks do. I don't know. I don't care. Basically, they're saying, look, if our kicker wants to do a little something special to the football, rough it up a little bit, maybe smooth it out a little bit so it's a little more aerodynamic. I don't know. I don't care. They should be allowed to do. I care about, effectively, I care about 4 of these rules. I think the concept of banning the tush push is real dumb. It's real dumb. I don't like that. And this is why I've said before, I'd be embarrassed if I was a Packers fan right now. Embarrassed.
So far, all the rules that you mentioned, this will be the one I think will get passed. I
don't know because I'm
with you. If you can't stop it, that's on you. But I think this will be the one that passes, that they'll get rid of this.
I mean, look, you might be right. I might be crazy.
Because there was a time when you could not push a player. A player could not push the ball carrier to help them, and they just need to get rid of that altogether. I think the majority of the time that the NFL has existed, that rule was not in place until, I don't know, like the last decade or something.
Here's how it feels to me.
I shouldn't be able to pick that little running back up and help him get a little bit further.
I think that is effectively, as a defense, your job is to stop the guy with the football. Like this to me, and I will acknowledge that while Rob Brown ordinarily, and quite frankly, prides himself on, most of the time, I think, being able to remove emotion from the game. Not saying that a thing should be a particular way because it feels that it should be that way. Or
except for pass interference.
Pass interference is pass interference.
Mm-hmm.
It's
I'm
pass
talking
interference.
about you talk about removing emotion from it. Pass interference still you can't help but talk about it with emotion.
You want emotionless? It was pass interference. Was it or was it not pass interference?
It wasn't called.
Was it pass interference?
No, because it wasn't called.
If a man's driving 80 and a 30 and he's not given a ticket, is he speeding? Yes. Yes. Now I'm emotional. Anyway, I pride myself in being able to take emotion out and just using logic and reason and all that good stuff. And I'm not perfect. I'm a human being. Emotion's going to get me sometimes, like when my co-host and executive producer decides to be a troll live on the air for no good reason at all.
That's my whole career, dude.
That's also fair. Just play better defense, right? Like, just play better defense. I don't know what to tell you. Should we get to a point that's saying running a three-man flood concept on one side of the field's illegal because it's real hard for two defensive backs to stop three guys? No, figure out how to get around it. Figure it out. Figure it out. Get in the white room, get on the chalkboard, grab yourself a piece of chalk, draw something up, and figure it out. All right? That's dumb, and I hate it. There's my passion. I care about the defensive holding penalty with the automatic first down attached to it. I care about it, and at the same time, honestly, don't really know how I feel about it yet. I really don't. I think I'm okay with, just like holding on offense, it's a 10-yard penalty, and if that's a first down, it's a first down. If it's not, it's not. I think that's the way I'm leaning right now. But I also understand that a defensive holding is frequently utilized because a guy recognizes how he's about to get cooked for a 42-yard Hail Mary pass down the right-hand side. And once he realizes, Tyreek's got me by 2 steps, and I'm about to give up an 80-yarder, I just grab him from the back and hang on to that jersey, right? Like, I kind of feel like there is a strategic advantage to defensive holding that doesn't exist for offensive holding. So maybe that's the reward. I don't know. I got to think about that one. The overtime rule, I'm totally in favor for. Yes, both teams should be given a possession. Both teams should be given a possession. That one is not even a brainer to me. Now, I understand that. Like I said, that has more to do with scheduling and television display than it has to do with actual football. But I'm going to go ahead and say just do it and work with a group to come up with a duo box or something if we need to. I don't know what to tell you. Write it into the next TV contract that if a game goes into overtime, it's double boxed with the next window until that game concludes. I don't know. Figure it the hell out. I think those are the only rules that I genuinely care about. All right, we'll see if any of them pass. We'll talk as we get closer to March 30th when the owners meet and decide if any of them pass. Let's talk some more basketball on the flip side. The Rob Brown Show, the Fan Upstate. Taking a breather. I wore my boots to work today, and it turns out they're not great. They're great hiking boots. They're not great standing boots.
Where's your daggone cowboy boots? Then you really need a thing. Which are more comfortable, hiking boots or cowboy boots?
Hiking boots.
Just been informed my chair that was supposed to be here today won't be here till Monday.
So no weekend beanbag cheering for Lonzo.
No, everything's in a standstill as far as me being able to finish that room.
Are they about the pyramids? All right, let's see here. Future Congressman Barnes under fire.
You did it. With him.
I did see the Sting thing. I saw that break last night, actually.
We're going to be talking about that in Fight Club. We already all of us already know it was Hydra that took out JFK.
Oh, it totally was.
I am looking forward to that movie, though. Thunderbolts should be good.
I'm actually very interested in it. And now the tablet of truth just won't turn on anymore.
No.
Sucks because I've taken very good care of it.
You broke it. You'd be less emotional with your tablet, probably.
I didn't Brady it or anything. All right, let's take a look at the college basketball bracket. Getting started today, as we have mentioned a couple of times so far, at 12:15 out at Rupp Arena in Lexington, Kentucky, when Creighton and Louisville will tip off. Then at 12:40, High Point and number 4 Purdue. Montana at Wisconsin at 1:30, 2 o'clock. SIU and Houston. Alabama State takes on number 1 overall Auburn at 2:50. McNeese State and Clemson up in Providence, Rhode Island. And 3:15, 4:05 VCU BYU. 4:35 Georgia and Gonzaga. The Bulldogs taking on the Bulldogs out in Wichita. The SoCon Conference champion Wofford Terriers get number 2 Tennessee at 6:50. That's also out in Lexington. I'm really interested in that game too. And I'm really interested in that game because there is an annual Rick Barnes postseason collapse. It happens every year. For whatever reason, Rick Barnes' teams just fall apart at the point that they need to not do that the most. And while it's usually a bit later in the tournament, usually a little bit different in the tournament, why not Wofford? Why not the Terriers? Why not the upstate zone? Pulling off one of the biggest upsets of all time, getting that dub. That one's at 6:50 tonight, 7:10 Arkansas and Kansas, 7:25 Yale and Texas A&M, Drake and Mizzou at 7:35. 9:25, got a little bit of a break there. Utah State's at UCLA at 9:45. Omaha is at St. John's. UC San Diego taking on Michigan in a 12-5 matchup at 10 o'clock. Then at 10:10, UNC Wilmington taking on Texas Tech out at Wichita to wrap us up for the day. So let's talk about some of these opening round games, at least the ones that look like they're going to be the more fun games. We'll start with, there's nothing with Auburn, Alabama State. With all due respect to the Yellow Jackets out of Birmingham, Alabama. Auburn.
It was a great victory by them.
Great victory.
Yes, it was.
Hail Mary full court pass to a layup with 0.7 seconds left to get the ticket punched. Incredible moment. March Madness got started before March Madness got started because of the ASU Jackets. And their prize, their reward for doing so, is that they earn an opening round matchup against Janai Broome in the Auburn Tigers. Now, I am interested in this game, not so much because I think we have our next 16-1 upset brewing. I don't. Auburn's favored by 32.5 points. I think Auburn's going to be fine. What I am interested in with these Auburn Tigers is instead the way that their season ended. The season ended with Auburn losing 3 out of their final 4. They lost on the road at Texas A&M. Now, do we write that off? I don't know. It was senior night for the Aggies. They're a cult. They love celebrating their cult members. Senior night in basketball is usually a very emotional night, a very emotionally charged night. And so, on one hand, I kind of want to look at this game, and I kind of want to go, I don't know, man, like this Auburn Tiger basketball team had just played a very good Kentucky team a few days before that. They won that game pretty comfortably, too. They had played right before that at home against Ole Miss. Chris Beard's Ole Miss Running Rebels are one of the most physically impressive teams defensively in the SEC. Yeah, Auburn won that game by 30, but for the first, 22 minutes of that game, they were getting the hell beat out of them. Game before that, they beat Georgia. That's the same Georgia team that was the last team in the regular season to defeat the Florida Gators before Florida went on a run and became one of the most popular selections to win the 2025 college basketball national championship game. That was a real tough run again. And by the way, before Georgia, they had Arkansas under John Cal, a team that was trying to find itself, prove itself a little bit down the stretch to make sure that they came off the bubble and got themselves a ticket. And in case you were maybe more curious, the game before that, they were on the road at Alabama, Auburn was. That end of the season stretch, let me tell you how Auburn's schedule ended up. You ready for this? At Ole Miss, top 25 team, tournament team. Against Oklahoma, tournament team. Against Florida, they took an L, 90-81, tournament team. At Vandy, tournament team. At Alabama, tournament team. Against Arkansas, tournament team. Against Georgia, tournament team. Against Ole Miss, tournament team. Against Kentucky, tournament team. Against A&M, tournament team. Against Alabama, tournament team. Against Ole Miss, tournament team. Against Tennessee, say it with me, tournament team. Auburn did not have a non-tournament team matchup in like the final three weeks of the season. So on one hand, I kind of expect that they would slow down a little bit, right? I kind of expect that they would be beat the hell up a little bit, right? On the other hand, they lost 3 out of the last 4. They lost against Texas A&M on senior night. Yeah, it's emotional. Sure. You know what other games are emotional? Every tournament game is emotional. Every one of them. You're done and you go home. You lose and you're out. There are seniors on every team in this tournament who recognize if they take an L, they're done. That's the career. Every game is going to be emotionally charged. So that A&M game worries me a little bit. They lost against Alabama. Maybe not as big of a deal. Alabama's a 2 seed in this tournament. It's one of the best teams in college basketball, except this game was at home. Yes, Mark Sears stepped up and hit a redonkulous tray with seconds left to go to steal the dub from Auburn, but they lost the game. They beat Ole Miss by 5 in the tournament. Beat them by 5. Again, I like this Ole Miss team. I like this team defensively. I think they are, to me, one of my favorites because of just how defensively minded they are, right? Like Coach K, you have heard him say a lot of times, you want to win the March Madness tournament, yeah, it's nice to go score 77 a game, but if you want to win the March Madness tournament, you got to be a crazy good defense. You got to be able to put the nose to the grindstone and go win on the stat lines that ain't stat lines. You got to do it defensively. Good rotation, good communication, talking, hands moving. feet shuffling. You got to be able to do all of that. Chris Beard's Ole Miss Running Rebels team are maybe the best illustration I have of that in this tournament. 1 by 5. And then they took on Rick Barnes in Tennessee, lost that game 70-65, dropped 3 of their last 5. Auburn's been my favorite team this year. Auburn's been a team I have been talking about promoting. I promoted them all season long on BetMGM tonight. I promoted them all season long for Janai Broome to be the player of the year. And all of a sudden, I found myself very, very worried about these Auburn Tigers. And I have them in the Final Four. I've got Auburn coming out of that region. I've got Creighton over Louisville tonight. I think Louisville's a little overhyped, and I think the Jays are a team that do this kind of crap every year. It's an 8-9 matchup. It's not exactly the world's biggest upset, but I like Creighton tonight over Louisville. I've got Michigan knocking off UC San Diego. I do have some 5-12 matchups. This is not one of them. I will take the Wolverines to move on, and in round number 2, they'll take on the the Aggies of Texas A&M. I've got them in the win tonight over Yale. That's your 4 knocking off a 13. I like this Ole Miss Running Rebel team. I talked about them. They get the benefit of drawing the 64th of 64 teams into the field, the North Carolina Tar Heels. Actually, 68th out of 68 teams in the field, the North Carolina Tar Heels. That game is tomorrow night. Upset alert. Look out for the Heels. So, I don't know how much you invest into, like, the emotional reaction of a team, but we spent, like, 2 weeks hearing a lot of people tell the Philadelphia Eagles over and over, you can't do it. You can't beat Mahomes. You can't beat Reed. They're a dynasty. They're the Chiefs. They're the Chiefs. They're the Chiefs. They're the Chiefs. And all the Philadelphia Eagles did was go out there and dog walk the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl. North Carolina, I'm not a bet on emotion guy. I'm not a bet on intangibles guy. I'm not a bet on a feels kind of guy, but North Carolina has been called every name under the sun for the last 3 days. Oh, they didn't deserve it. They shouldn't have gone. They haven't done anything. And by the way, all those things are absolutely true, but it doesn't matter whether they're true or not. It matters what the UNC Tar Heels are hearing. And R.J. Davis, one of the best players in the country that is unfortunately playing for a, let's say, mid-team to give them the compliment, he's hearing that. He's hearing that. He's hearing that. He's hearing that. I like Ole Miss a lot. Give me North Carolina to pull the upset in round 1.
All right, so far the only thing that we have different is Louisville and Creighton.
Really?
That's it. That's the only thing we have different. But I don't know what I'm doing. And
you went Michigan over UC San Diego.
I did.
I respect that.
I went Auburn winning. I got
so there's
Texas
a man
A&M.
who put emotion in the back seat for a pick.
Yeah, I got Texas A&M over Yale, and I picked North Carolina over Ole Miss because of the emotion that you're talking about right now.
Yeah, I think it's fair to do
because
that.
They're hearing everyone saying they don't belong, and look at what they just did. That butt whipping could have been worse in that game the other day.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Again, it wasn't a team as talented as Ole Miss. There's also a little bit of like, I've said a bunch of times that the Ole Miss Running Rebels in the Southeastern Conference are having the best individual year in an individual sport that any individual conference has ever had in a single year. And I still believe that is true. But there are some teams that if you really go look and evaluate them, you might kind of see like the SEC was really good, and nobody is saying that they are not. But there are some teams like some Arkansas, like some Ole Misses that took some not so great L's along the way. They lost to Memphis. Yeah, that's a tournament team. Yeah, that's a 5 seed. Memphis is a team that just beat you with iso ball. They lost to Mississippi State, Texas A&M, Mizzou, of course, lost to Auburn. So did everybody else. Mississippi State, Vanderbilt lost to Auburn by 30, lost to Florida, lost to Auburn again. Gave Auburn a hell of a game in the SEC tournament game, but as much as I like this Ole Miss team, this North Carolina team's been hearing for 3 days, and by the time they tip off tomorrow night, we'll have been hearing for 5 days. You don't belong here. You don't deserve to be here, and that scares me. I don't think that emotion runs very deep into the field, but I do think it can get them by Ole Miss in round 1. I got Iowa State over Lipscomb. I've got Marquette over New Mexico in the 7-10 matchup, and then give me Sparty and the Spartans. Tom Izzo.
Okay, so we only vary on one game.
Out of the entire bracket out of the South, 1 game difference in the opening round. That's very interesting. I'm curious to see if that's going to stack up when we move over into the East, when we move over into the West and into the Midwest. We're going to continue breaking brackets down. Let me tell you how the rest of the show is going to stack up. When we come back here in just a minute, it's your Audio Blitz, the best audio we've heard in the last 24 hours. I got some good ones for you in the 8 o'clock segment. At 8:20, Lonzo and I will take a look at our East bracket first round and our West bracket first round. Then at 8:40, Rashad Beard, the host of the Panther Nation podcast, going to drop by to talk a little off-season Carolina football with us. Then at 9 o'clock, the hatin' one himself, hatin' Mario Herron from the BetMGM Network, going to pop by to give us his thoughts on all the upcoming free agency moves in the NFL, the power rankings of the NBA, and more at 9:20. It's Thursday, and you know what that means. Fight Club with the great one Lonzo, where we have got no shortage of professional wrestling to talk about. I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now, we're probably going to go ahead and extend that segment just a couple of minutes because we got stuff to do, and then we will wrap up the show by giving you our thoughts on Clemson's bracket, the Midwest bracket, to wrap up the show. That's how everything is going for the next 2 hours and 7 minutes of your life. However, the next 60 seconds of your life are going to be as good as any 60 seconds of your life has ever been, because Lonzo is about to pleasure your ear holes with this sports flash.
Somewhere I hear Chris down the hall saying that's what she said.
Hey-o!
The Mount St. Mary's Mountaineers punched their ticket out of the first four and into the dance with an 83-72 win over American University last night. The Mounties had 22 points out of both Jetty Cordelia and Dola Adebayo. Mount St. Mary's will take on the number 1 seed Duke tomorrow afternoon. The Minutemen of Xavier are in after knocking off Texas 86-80 last night. 4 starters reached double digits, including Marcus Foster with 22 and Zach Fremantle with 15. The Minutemen will face Illinois in the first round tomorrow night, also known as Illinois. Tune in this afternoon from 3 to 7 p.m. for Wire to Wire. Cole Bryson and Diesel ride shotgun on your drive home and get you up to date on the latest local and national sports news. Great guests, great debate, a whole lot of fun, all Wire to Wire. Well, Wesley, we also talked quite a bit of NFL. Is that immoral also? I mean, is there a morality of sports? What is the morality of sports? Other than, what morality is, which is subjective and what each person considers their morality. And technically not opening day of the tournament. That was Tuesday. With the play-in games. Also, quite a few wrestling fans listen to the show and look forward to that segment. So I guess around 8:20 will be reprobates. I know, right? What if Rob and I agreed on everything? How boring would that be? scary storm looks like coming outside. We may not make it to that point anyway. I don't know what this person in the parking lot's doing. Yeah, they were. They went all the way one direction. They came back. I thought maybe the wind blew something away. They could have dropped their phone again. Come over here and hang with us. We'll let them in. We'll let anybody in. No, we won't. Not really.
No offense, but it seems immoral to talk wrestling on opening day of March Madness.
Yeah,
we're going to talk a lot of tournament coming up.
He and I have been talking about it.
Yeah.
We're good. I pointed out we also talked NFL and asked if that was immoral. And, and if we were to talk NBA, which we might later, is that immoral? When we talk Panthers, that actually could be immoral. I don't know.
Here we go. Hour number 3 of the Rob Brown Show starts right now. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It is the Fan Upstate. Tremendous to be with you for another 4-hour extravaganza of sports talk and other stuff. I am Rob Brown, the great with Lonzo on the ones and twos. Be a part of the show. The phone line open, 844-326-3663, 844-326-3663. The Hub City Spartan Burgers text line is open for you as well, 844-326-3663. Shoot us a call, shoot us a text, get on the air, be a part of the show. Make it better by being a part of it.
You think you could throw out a first pitch over 40?
Do I think?
I mean, you're over 40 now. I'm not.
Do I think?
I'm putting it out there to the Hub City Spartan Burgers. If they need somebody to throw the ball, you got a guy right here. Yeah.
When you're ready, Spartan Burgers. When you're ready. When we get to baseball, what do we do, Zoe? Do I go 2-seamer? Do I go 4-seamer? Circle change? Put a little Momo with the breaking ball on it? Do I throw a slider, a curve, and over-the-top sinker? Did I come from the outside in, the inside out? I mean, we got options for a first pitch. I think the obvious answer is you just lock in on the seams and you come heat right down the pipe, man.
I tell you what you don't want to do. You don't want to ask that other show to throw out the first pitch, because when you got an actual pitcher right here in the room, someone who's already done it, and I've seen them do it. in Spartanburg.
For the old Spartanburgers.
For the old
And by
Spartanburgers,
the
yes.
way, absolute gas down the center. Gas.
Shout out to Keegan for catching that, but they gave me credit for catching it. But that's fine. I was okay with that.
When Spartanburgers, when you're ready, you let me know. Rob Brown will come over there and show every first pitch thrower for the rest of the history of the Hub City Spartanburgers exactly how TF it's done. I'm ready when you are. Ready when you are. You know, I'm even going so far as to say this. I'm going to make myself sound like a bad person. I love to share everything this show does with the great one, Lonzo. We get tickets to stuff. Lonzo gets the tickets if he wants them. We get invited to stuff. Lonzo gets invited within 30 seconds of me finding out we got invited. There are very few things that I'm going to say if we get an invite to do, I'm doing. Throwing out the first pitch is one. Are you kidding me? The chance to put on the spikes, get up on top of the bump one more time, take the signal, set in. I'm a big from the stretch guy. We're coming out of the stretch, we're getting set, and it's just raw heat.
I just want to point out, last time you brought the heat because your hype man was there. There's some nerves. I got those nerves out of you. I got you ready. I got you fired up. You're ready to go.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, I mean that's legit. That actually happened. So I mean, I'm there for you again if you need me.
I will. I will take the Flava Flav of sports talk radio.
I'll either pump you up or make you so angry that you're just gonna.
Now, see, I'm not. I was never an angry pitcher. I was a calm presence on the bump, man.
I'm just saying that motivation. I can bring it from a couple different ways. That's
you
all.
were catching no emotion on the face. You didn't know if I was coming high, tight, right off the chin with the little sweet chin music. I was going to go far and away and make you look like a fool swinging the 9-iron in the dirt. You didn't know what you were getting from me, and that's how I wanted it.
Were you a gum chewer?
No, I was a sunflower guy.
Okay.
I was a sunflower guy. Back pocket was full. I didn't even put them in a bag. I just dumped the sunflower straight in the pocket. That way I could reach back there at any point and just grab a couple and move on.
On behalf of germaphobes, which I am not. Ew.
It's baseball. Deal with it.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it. I know some people who would, though.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Lulu Kessin ordinarily fills this spot from the Greenville News. She covers the South Carolina Gamecocks, but she was asked to deliver a speech to a young and upcoming and impressionable journalism class. I wouldn't have anybody else do it. So Lulu Kessin will join us tomorrow on the show, which means as it is 8 o'clock, we're going to do as we ordinarily do your audio blitz, some of the best audio we've picked up over the past 24 hours of the show. So let us jump right into it. We start with this one, the Dan Le Batard Show, one of the most listened to podcasts in the sports podosphere.
Wait a minute, that
of
show
America.
still exists?
It does, and it's still very good.
How can it exist when it's no longer on a network?
Dan Le Batard has figured out a way, and the Le Batard Show's still going very strong. And he's got a revolving cast and crew of characters who come by, including one Greg Coate, who covers sports for the Miami Herald.
It's Cody.
Cody. I'm not giving him the credit of saying his name correctly because he has a take that I hate.
Look, I'm growing tired of the Savannah Bananas.
Join the club.
What?
Oh, my God.
They were just down here in Miami, weren't they? I saw signs for bananas parking for like 3 weeks.
That is one of the great sports phenomenons anywhere, that something would grow out of the ground and become. Didn't they get 65? Aren't they making fun of the Rays because they got a crowd of 65,000 for a game, and all they've done is make baseball fun?
Look at this crowd. They're
Tampa.
selling out NFL stadiums.
I have not heard a single person say anything other when they go. It was awesome.
It's a clown show. I eat banana ball.
You're running around wearing capes, actual capes. Look at the dimension. That left field wall is 120 feet away. Get out of here, right field wall.
The Rays should lean into this and just like get wrestling with it and be like, bring it, bananas. You guys think you're good at baseball?
Right.
We'll whoop your ass.
I think it's just a modern day Harlem Globetrotters, which
What's wrong with that?
I thought we had all outgrown that. Throwing a bucket of water on somebody, but there's confetti in there. It's not water. Ho ho!
I also hate when other people have fun. I also hate when other people enjoy things.
This is baseball's prime audience, though. The no fun here. It's for this is how the game is played. No, I mean, Greg Cody, he's that guy. He's the sports writer who is deciding who gets in the Hall of Fame. He is no fun guy, which baseball is the most no fun old guy watching sport there is.
I'm gonna say
maybe you get rid of guys like that and you get some more Savannah Banana stuff.
I want to say a couple of things. Number one, I agree with you that is a narrative about baseball. I hate it, and I will say it is dying. I think a lot of the newer fans, the younger, you got to keep in mind, fans that are in their 40s now, guys like me, we grew up in that Griffey era where players started rocking the backward caps and we were all having a good time. We are that group now, and the majority of us haven't given up on enjoying sports. So I think that era is kind of dying out, that era of baseball taking itself too damn seriously. Here's the other thing. The Savannah Bananas are not asking to be included in Major League Baseball. They're not asking to be an expansion team. They go out, they put on a show, just like the Harlem Globetrotters, who are still awesome.
Amazing.
Still fun.
Globetrotters are amazing. We've actually had the pleasure, it was probably like 9-10 years ago, to have a Globetrotter in this room, spinning the ball and talking about when the Globetrotters come to town, which they still do.
Hey, they're coming in the summertime.
Yeah. So,
and I will absolutely not just be there. We will have one of them on the show, and I will be sitting courtside because it's a blast. All right. Let's get a couple more sound bites in here. Let's go with man, I'm kind of struggling because we got a lot of really good ones. Okay, Scott Cross is the head coach of the Troy Trojan basketball team. First off, I got to give a shout out here. I got to give a shout out to Lucas because Lucas emailed the show asking for a bracket invite a few minutes ago. Lucas, I won't give out too much info, but he works for the Waffle House, of which you all know Rob Brown is a big fan, both literally and metaphorically. Love the Wahoo. Scott Cross, the head coach of the Troy Trojans basketball team, dropped an all-timer this week.
Town of 15,000 when school's not in town, so you can imagine you got one Waffle House per 5,000 people, so probably most per capita anywhere in the country. But started off the first 2 recruits I brought on campus. We're driving down the main street. I point out Waffle House, ask them if they want to eat there for breakfast. They were like, Waffle House? Hell no, I don't want to go to Waffle House. I'm like, okay, my bad. We'll try and eat somewhere else. Long story short, we signed neither one of those guys. Then we brought a guy named Nick Stampley, who's an OKG, our kind of guy. He was our 3rd recruit to visit. We're driving by. We don't even say anything about Waffle House. He sees it. He's like, oh, coach, y'all got a Waffle House here. Can we go there tomorrow? He was our first signee. He was one of the toughest guys we've ever coached. And from that point forward, we just kind of offhand ask him, do you like Waffle House? The answer is yes. It's like, we sign them. If it's no, we never get them. So I told my staff, I was like, hey, y'all can save a lot of time and money. First phone conversation, in passing, ask them, do they like Waffle House or not?
Let me say 2 words, and I think the only 2 words that I need to say, I think the only 2 words that matter. That's my guy. I am now officially signed up as a member of the Troy Trojan basketball team fan club.
All right, so it's not like it may seem like, if you've been listening to this entire show, that I'm just going to be opposite of Rob on everything, and that's not true. But I don't think Waffle House likes fat people. You know who your clientele are. Why do you make those booths so small? That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying anything about the food. I'm saying those yellow, narrow booths that you expect someone of my size to fit in there, and you just don't.
I have an answer for you.
I mean, know your demographic. That's all I'm saying.
I have an answer for you, because I agree with you that sometimes sitting down where there's a little less space between chair back and table than my big ass gut can fit into that spot. You know what the only thing more frustrating than that is, Lonzo? Walking into a Waffle House and there's a wait. All right? If I got to be just slightly, a couple of inches uncomfortable between the seat back and my belly pushing into the table, but it means that I walk in to not the Waffle House, but the Waffle Home, and my ham and cheese omelet smothered, covered, diced, and topped is that much faster for me. I'll be a little uncomfortable. I see what you're doing, Waffle House, and I salute you for it.
All right, last thing I will say on this. If I can't breathe, I can't eat. If I can't eat, it's costing you money. Because if I got some room for some expansion, let's say, maybe I order a little more. That makes your particular Waffle House a little more money. So maybe invest in getting rid of those booths and just put tables and chairs in there.
Then get out of the way so I can sit down and eat. All right? That's it. That's all there is to it. All right, let's keep rolling on. Clinton Yates works for ESPN. You guys know I'm a big Nikola Jokic guy. He's my favorite basketball player to watch.
You hear that, Clinton? That's how you say that.
Clinton with it. Clinton Yates works for ESPN. I for years tried to figure out exactly why it is that I like Jokic so much. I should, and he's boring as hell. He just wants to go home and hang out with his horses when he plays basketball. It's the most boring basketball you've ever watched, and yet I can't take my eyes off of it. Clinton Yates came up with the reason why I've never heard a more apt description.
Jokic plays like your dad when you were 8 in the driveway against all your friends. Like, that's how his game operates. You just kind of can't really reach the ball. He can kind of just shoot better than everybody. He can see over everybody, so his passing game is ridiculous. To think that there's a man among boys to some degree in the NBA in 2025, we talked for hours about how there's so many types of players that are exactly the same now, to the point that it makes the game borderline boring for some people because it just feels like a simulation because every player plays the exact same style. Jokic doesn't do that. Jokic is the actual unicorn.
I've never heard a better description in my life. Why is it that Jokic has this kind of feeling of it's because he's just like when I go outside, it's family reunion time down in Destin, Florida, and all my little cousins are running around, and they're all 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old, and they love some basketball. My whole family loves basketball. We're a basketball family, and we go out in the front yard, and we're going to play on the old 10-foot shooting hoop up on Grandma's garage that's been there since I was a kid, and I go, tap me in, let's go. And I get out there, and I just dominate a bunch of 9-year-olds. That's Nikola Jokic. And for the record, I think it's great. I think it's great. I love it. I'm all in. That's a great description from Clinton Yates. I think it's phenomenal. Let's keep going. How about this one? The 2026 KC Foundation. That is the organization that is putting on, in Kansas City, the World Cup coming up next year. Well, their CEO was on WKCA in Kansas City and got asked the question about the affordability of tickets for people like me who have been waiting my whole damn life for the World Cup to come back after 96 Atlanta. Affordability.
FIFA recently put out a notice to say ticket prices will start at, quote, $323 with seats for a skybox or business suite running for $4,000. You know, if you can't afford that, you know, what involvement do you have with any of the World Cup?
Sure, most people will not go to a match, right? And so there will be the FIFA Fan Festival, the official activation, which will be at the World War I Museum. But all over town, there will be watch parties and activations, ways for people to engage. And I know from my own travels, sometimes those are the most memorable and authentic ways to experience a country are not necessarily the programmed experiences, but the more authentic experiences that you seek out.
I don't say this often. Lady, I hate you. And I don't mean the kind of hate where you're like, oh, man, I hate that, right? No. I mean, from the bottom of my heart, genuine, authentic, your face makes me want to vomit hate. Like, you know, like hate. Not, haha, I hate that joke. Oh, I hate that restaurant. Oh, I hate you, buddy. Not that kind of hate. When I say hate, I mean, I saw this interview, and then I went to go learn more about what she had to say, and every time I see her dumb face, it makes me want to puke. I hate her.
Wow. Dude.
Hate. Bottom of my heart, genuine, sincere hate.
That's a lot.
When you get asked a question, hey, Tickets for the World Cup are looking like, if you want to sit in the rafters, north of $300. And don't get me wrong, I understand it. It's the world's event. It's the most popular sporting event on planet Earth. There will be millions of people traveling to these great United States over the course of a month to watch the best soccer teams on planet Earth play footy for the most elusive prize in all of sports, the World Cup Championship Trophy. Hey, tickets are going to be $350. There's people like me who want to go to the games. There's people like my little brother who don't just want to go to the game, but he wants to bring his boy who's going to be 8 years old when that cup starts, and he's all excited, and now you're telling him if he and his boy, just the two of them, want to get into a game, they're going north of $750, and they go, what are we going to do about this? The least you can do is lie and go, you know what, we're doing an economic efficiency study to find out how we can make this affordable and fan-friendly. No. You know what she says? Don't go to games. Just come to Kansas City and then, watch them at a bar. And she has the nerve to call them activations. You can't even take your head out of the business side of it long enough to, pretend like you give a damn. Listen, I'm going because I don't have kids. I have free time and expendable income. It's my favorite thing about me. I'll drop $350 to go watch Team USA play in Kansas City if that's where they get the draw in the knockout round. But there's a lot of people who can't. And to hit them back with, well, you know what, you can go to the World War I Museum and watch it on a screen. You want me to fly to Kansas City, Missouri, to then sit outside at a bar and watch this? Screw you, lady. Screw you. I hate that lady. Like a lot. All right, one more clip, and I have saved this one, Lonzo. It's very short. There's a podcast called The Consumers. The Consumers dive into some interesting information and tidbits about, things that we consume. And they found something that you and I are going to put to the test about one of my favorite snacks of all time.
If you want to make sure your Cheez-Its are the best Cheez-Its America has to offer, you got to look. The serial number that starts with K are made in the Kansas facility, which is known to Cheez-It lovers to be the superior Cheez-It facility.
He claims, the host of the Consumers podcast, that if you want the best Cheez-Its.
How's he know?
This is, I'm walking over here so I can look you in the face for this part of the conversation. I did research on this for, I'm not proud, 45 minutes last night once I heard this clip.
Sounds about right.
And what I have found is that within the Cheez-Its fan community, and I will tell you unapologetically, I am big Cheez-Its guy. My favorite right now are the Cheez-Its duos. You can get the jalapeno and bacon duos. Half the Cheez-Its are jalapeno, half of them are bacon. I also love the Tabasco spicy Cheez-Its. I had 3 boxes of Cheez-Its in my car to drive back and forth from New Orleans because I freaking love Cheez-Its, all right? But I have to say, I have had boxes of Cheez-Its that I found disappointing. I have had boxes of Cheez-Its where I'm like, there's not a lot of dust on these Cheez-Its. Kind of disappointing.
I've never really thought about that
But
before.
it's true.
But it is true.
Yeah.
I've absolutely had that too.
Yeah.
And I just thought, it's a bad batch.
Yeah. I have had boxes of Cheez-Its. I love Cheez-Its. There's never a day where I don't have at least 1 box of Cheez-Its in my house. They are my wife and I's go-to snack. I love a Cheez-It. Cheez-It Grooves. If you haven't had them yet, they're fantastic.
Those are great with dip.
Yes, they are.
Yes,
My wife loves the toasty Cheez-Its, the one they bake twice, so it's a little more crispy than the regular Cheez-Its. We are a Cheez-Its house. But I have had, I don't know how many boxes of Cheez-Its that I've popped open and eaten a couple of them, and I'm like, these aren't the quality I've come to expect out of America's favorite cheesy snack cracker. This isn't good enough for me. What are we doing here? And it turns out that apparently there is a quality discrepancy between Cheez-Its factories, and the Cheez-Its factory in Kansas is apparently the top-notch Cheez-Its quality factory. So, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do, great one. When this show's over, I got about 30 minutes of work. Then I got to go down the road for a meeting. And then I got to go down the road a little further to my favorite watering hole to watch some basketball. I'm going to pass a grocery store on the way there, a big box grocery store. I try to avoid them when possible. I'm going to go in, great one, and I'm going to find 4 boxes of Cheez-Its. 2 that do not have the K on the front of the barcode and 2 that do. And I'm going to bring them in here tomorrow, and we're going to blind taste test these Cheez-Its. And we're going to see if this is true. Because if it is earth-shattering information that I wish I would have known 20 years ago.
I'm glad we get to do this public service.
It's for the people. And you know why it's for the people?
He's a man of the people.
Because we're a man of the people. When we come back to college basketball. We have given you our opening round picks out of the East. When we come back, let's take a look at our opening round picks out of the South. We do the East next on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. Lester, we are doing a tournament bracket group. However, we're doing it differently this year. We are invading and taking over the Wire to Wire tournament group. So, if you would like in and you would like to help prove that the Rob Brown Show knows ball, shoot me an email right now to rob.brown@thefanupstate.com. rob.brown@thefanupstate.com. I will send you back an email with a link. You're going to click on that link. You're going to register. You're going to get your bracket in. You're going to name your bracket. And at the end of the name, you're going to put TRBS, The Rob Brown Show, TRBS. Name your bracket, put TRBS at the end of the bracket name, and then we are going to invade, commandeer, and dominate the wire-to-wire bracket so that everybody knows that the Rob Brown Show knows ball. So shoot me an invite, and this is for all of you. Shoot me an invite to rob.brown@thefanupstate.com. Fill out your bracket, name it, put TRBS at the end of it, and then we'll do it that way. So shoot me an email, rob.brown@thefanupstate.com. I will reply with your invite, and we will be right back. Michael in Simpsonville texted the show on the Hub City Spartanburger text line at 844-326-3663 and said, Cool Ranch Doritos are even more hit or miss. I am going to say you are exactly correct, Michael. And I'm a Doritos guy. And like, Cool Ranch is my go-to for the Doritos. But I like all the Doritos. I will absolutely hammer some nacho cheese Doritos.
Just try a new one. It's like a mix of taco with a little bit of a kick to it. Their taco Doritos are good, but this one has I think habanero on it or something, and it's really good.
I am on board. I'm on board with the sweet or Thai chili Dorito. I like all the Doritos, but I will tell you that I have noticed, and I absolutely believe in the concept of shrinkflation. You know how we're paying more for less stuff as we move forward?
Buying air.
Yeah. Shrinkflation's a real deal. And I have noticed that it's not just the chips themselves, but it's the amount of dust on the chips, even in Doritos, which has been one of the most trusted brands in American history. Even Doritos is starting to skimp on us just a little bit. I got to go dig up and figure out, is this a factory thing like the Cheez-Its where Kansas puts out the best Cheez-Its and everybody else is just kind of doing their thing? Like, am I at a point now where when I'm going to get snack foods, I got to start checking barcodes to make sure I'm buying it from the right particular factory? I had never heard this before, and I will be going to a grocery store today to pick up every damn box of Cheez-Its I can find until I find 2 with the K and 2 without it, and we're going to have Zoe do a blind Cheez-Its taste test on the show tomorrow to find out if this is a true rumor.
Why I got to be blind to do it? I mean...
I don't have to actually blindfold you.
Okay, all right. So you mean
blind taste test means I'm gonna give you, but not tell you which ones you're eating in that.
Yeah, because I don't trust you to. I mean, there may be something else in there that's not really a Cheez-It. So,
they will all be Cheez-Its.
Okay,
Do you understand?
Okay. No,
this
I mean,
is more important to me than tricking you.
I mean, if I was blindfolded.
No, I know.
This
is more important to me than tricking you.
Okay, all right.
I would do this with like a hilarious ice cream taste test or something, but not the Cheez-Its. All right, let's keep looking through these. Brackets. Let's go out east. We have done the South. First round, Lonzo and I agreed on all but one game, and the only game we disagreed on was the 8-9 matchup. We agreed on everything else, including number 11, North Carolina upsetting Ole Miss. We both agreed Marquette knocking off New Mexico. We both agreed this is not the side of the bracket with a 12-5 upset. So let's see if our logic stays the same over in the East. The 1 seed Duke taking on Mount St. Mary's, who fought their way in with a play-in victory last night, shot over 58% from the floor in this game. Doesn't matter. Duke's real good. Blue Devils by 30. Mississippi State takes on Baylor. Listen, Mississippi State's another one of those SEC teams that is very good, that deserves a lot of respect for what they did inside one of the best basketball, maybe the best, I think, without question, the best basketball conference of all time, the 2024-25 Southeastern Conference. Baylor's a good team. I'm taking the Bulldogs to move on over Baylor and the Bears. I do not see a 12-5 upset in this one either. I'm taking the mighty Oregon Ducks to knock off the Liberty Flames and to move on. Arizona is the 4 seed, and I like this 4 seed a lot. I think they're going to put the Zips of Akron away very easily. That game is tomorrow night. I'm taking the 6 seed in BYU over the Virginia Commonwealth University Rams. Give me the Badgers of Wisconsin. I think they're going to beat down the Montana Grizzlies in round number 1. I believe, just one upset in this round. Just one upset in this round, and it belongs to the Commodores of Vanderbilt, the black and gold out of the SEC. They are going to move on over St. Mary's. This is a St. Mary's team who lost a 5-12 upset last year. I think they are upset again by the 10 seed as the 7 seed. Give me Vandy.
You skipped Wisconsin.
Nope, I said Badgers over the Grizz. They're going to beat them by 100.
My bad.
And then the 2 seed Alabama will have no problem with Robert Morris. Mark Sears might score 40 in this game. One upset, I'm taking chalk all the way through the East, though, with the exception of the 10 seed Vandy over St. Mary's.
I had also picked Vandy over St. Mary's, but we vary on 2 other ones. On 2, I picked Baylor over Mississippi State because the 8-9 matchup could go either way.
Sure.
And what was the other? Oh yeah, I got VCU to upset BYU.
Okay. Let's talk about that one very briefly. We got Rashad Beard of the Panther Nation podcast coming up in the next segment in this game, which I do think is a pretty evenly matched game. BYU just a 2.5-point favorite with a minus 105 juice to that side. The over-under at 146.5. VCU is just plus 110 on the money line. This is interesting because VCU has two starters averaging over 15 points and over 5 boards per game. On the flip side, BYU has a young cat I want you to keep an eye on. His name is Richie Saunders. Richie Saunders is averaging 16 points a game and just a tick shy of 5 rebounds per game. He is Mr. Versatility on the basketball court. Richie Saunders is the bad guy from every 80s coming-of-age teen movie. All right? He's just one of those cats that's got the punchable face and the big, thick, curly blonde hair, and he wears a headband, and I'm pretty sure that his dad wants to shut down the youth center to open up a ski resort. All right? Like, that's just the vibe he gives off. But he's also one of those cats that's got that attitude because he's Mr. Versatility. Because he can go just play any spot outside of the 5 on the floor. Richie Saunders and Richie Saunders alone is the reason I am taking BYU. I do think they had a tougher strength of schedule. I think they performed better against that strength of schedule. This is a BYU team that had a win over said Baylor Bears. They were in a shootout with Arizona, a 4 seed. They beat Kansas. They beat Arizona. They beat Iowa State twice. Iowa State is a 3 seed on the other side of the bracket, and they were in a shootout with Houston until Houston ran away in the dying moments. That's a 1 seed. BYU has played a schedule as tough as anybody not in the Southeastern Conference and been pretty good against it. VCU is an upset pick. I'm not even mad you're taking the Rams for the upset, but I'm going to go BYU. And your other one was Baylor over Mississippi State, which, again, 8-9 matchup. 1.5 points. The Bulldogs are favored by this one, minus 120 on the money line. But I'm going to give you one more name I want you to keep an eye on, and that's Josh Hubbard for the Bulldogs. 19 points a game, 4 assists per game. Another one of those cats that is a spark plug. If he gets momentum going, Mississippi State can not only knock off Baylor, but they can make it interesting for Duke in round number 2. I don't have a problem with you going the opposite way on either one of those 2 picks. So there's our bracket out of the East. When we come back, Rashad Beard of the Panther Nation podcast. We'll talk a little Carolina off-season football. 9 o'clock hour begins with Hatin Ass Mario from the BetMGM Network. 9:20. Fight Club with the great one, Lonzo. We'll talk all the professional wrestling as we are on the road to WrestleMania. And then the final segment of the show, Zoe and I will take a look at the bottom half of the bracket out of the West and the Midwest. It's all coming up on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
Let me ask you, because this will be brought up. Did you see the Moxley thing?
Yes.
Okay.
I did. All right. Well, you can stay on the stream if you want. I got to step away.
Thank you for the permission. Appreciate it. Ever wonder why things show up on your X feed or your Facebook feed? Some of it has to do with algorithms for sure, stuff you look up. Like Gangs of New York just showed up for me. I've never watched that movie. Not sure I want to watch that movie. I hear it's pretty good, but not a big DiCaprio guy. So why would that show up on my feed? What did I possibly look at to cause that to show up? Or was it something that Rob said? I don't know. So Jamar Chase got a really big contract, in case you didn't know. And here's a picture of him on a Lamborghini. His Lamborghini, of course. That's white. I don't know if I'd go with that color. But I guess if you just signed such a big contract, you could probably pay someone to wash your car. Hear anything from him? Never sent him a thing. That's right. I extended the break. Hi, Shane.
Hi, Lonzo.
Jamar Chase just put a picture of himself sitting on a Lamborghini. It's white. I don't know why you would go white.
I would never.
I definitely would buy a Lamborghini with that much money.
Sure.
Yeah, but
never white.
It's white with red rims.
No,
I mean, it's gonna be nasty me saying this. Why not put orange rims on it?
That's a good call.
Yeah, I mean, you know. Jamar Chase, what was his college? LSU?
That is correct.
Yeah, so, yeah, I mean.
With Joey B.
Yeah.
It is Thursday, right? I'm not losing my mind.
It is Thursday. It absolutely is Thursday.
The Hot Rod Brown Show continues. Welcome back. Rob Brown, the great one, Lonzo, and you waiting on Rashad Beard, host of the Panther Nation podcast, to join us here, hopefully, in just mere seconds
Does this sound
from
like
right now.
Cheap Trick to you?
It absolutely does. It 1000% sounds like Cheap Trick.
It's not Cheap Trick, but I just.
Well, I mean, so we obviously, for those of you that aren't in the know, we have to play non-trademarked songs so that we can keep our stream up on the internet. If we play any trademark music, it gets flagged and it gets taken down, and we like to have our streams up in perpetuity because there's nothing that Lonzo and I want more than for our legacies to live on into time immemorial, no matter what happens to us. And so we got to play trademark-free covers so that we can keep them up. And part of that is we have a library of them that we utilize. All of the covers in there, they are all based on.
No, this isn't a cover. This is original, but
well,
you get a sounds like button, and it may sound like AC/DC or something like that. I didn't purposefully look for this. I just enjoyed the song, and I just realized that sounds like Cheap Trick.
Yeah,
it's called whitelisted. I don't know why it has to be white, but it's whitelisted. And it's stuff that you can play safely over the internet.
It's so we end up with some of them that are very clearly and obviously meant to sound like popular bands or popular songs or whatever. And every now and then we'll get one of those that you hear it and you're like, that's that. There's an AC/DC one somewhere in there. There's a Led Zeppelin in there somewhere, and that one was very Cheap Tricky.
I purposefully stay away from Creed sounds because I'm still mad at them. So
I don't know why you're mad at them. They did nothing wrong except put on one of the greatest rock and roll shows I've ever experienced in my entire life.
Listen, I don't know how to compare it to any other rock and roll show because that's the only one I've ever seen. But it was a very bad experience for me.
I had the time of my life, and if all you did was check your text to see to come in the other gate, where I was telling you to come in, you'd have been fine.
Yeah, well, I'm used to being left behind. The invisible one.
But you weren't.
The one that no one cares for.
But you weren't.
The downtrodden.
But you weren't.
But I persevere and I still win.
But you weren't. You weren't that at all. Let's take a look.
I didn't even blame you on this time. I blamed the band. And then you took blame on yourself. I'm trying to get past it, and you won't let me.
As we wait to see if Rashad Beard's going to join us this morning, and I will acknowledge that sometimes that blinking light on his desk lights up, and he's got to slide down that fire pole to his secret underground layer and then disappear off into the world as an international man of mystery. He may just be a little bit busy. We'll find out.
No, listen, I want to get a chance to do this, and I still ain't got a chance to do it. Every single time.
We'll see if we can. If he can join us in the next few minutes, line Rashad Beard up for tomorrow. In the meantime, whilst we wait, because we do have Hatin Ask Mario coming up in the next segment of the show. Allegedly. We do. He's not an international man of mystery. He's an international man of sits in his apartment. Well, so he'll be here.
But he's also very busy.
That's also true. Then we got Fight Club right after that, and then we'll, in the final segment, break down Clemson's bracket, the Midwest bracket. Let's take a look here at our West bracket. The 1 seed in this bracket, the mighty Gators of Florida, who in the last back half of the SEC season just skyrocketed to become one of the most popular Final Four picks in America. They take on Norfolk State in the opening round, the 16 seed. I don't think the Gators have any problem with that. When UConn and Oklahoma is your 8-9 matchup, this one is gonna be fun. I'm conflicted on this one. I have bounced back and forth a number of times. Because on one hand, Dan Hurley and the UConn Huskies, they've been here. They've done that. On the other hand, it's one of the younger UConn teams we've seen in a while. On one hand, UConn didn't have the schedule that the Oklahoma Boomer Sooners did, so it looks a little better on the final win-loss line than the Boomer Sooners do. But again, I am putting a lot of weight on the concept of a team being battle-tested. Oklahoma is absolutely that. This is, hilariously enough, one of about 6 opening round games that I'm like coin flipping. I can see this go either way. I landed on Great One UConn, and I landed on UConn because of Dan Hurley. This feels like a Dan Hurley game. This feels like a game where coaching comes into play, and if coaching comes into play, I'm going to take the dude who is not once but twice reigning, defending, undisputed.
Reigning, defending. That's enough for me. I do realize there's been turnaround because there always is every year, but I mean, at least you can say people are going there because he's won the last couple of years, right? I mean, that's how you get recruits.
That is how you get recruits.
So they're probably pretty good, I'm thinking.
They are pretty good. I have landed on the UConn Huskies. The 8th seed, knocking off Oklahoma in round 1. Your 5-12 matchup in this bracket, Memphis taking on Colorado State. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to tell you right now, take the Rams, the 12 seed upset in this bracket, and I will tell you why. There's been a lot of question marks about Penny Hardaway's Memphis Tigers. Here's the thing. They play basketball like Penny Hardaway played basketball. I want the ball up top. I want to ISO one-on-one, and I want to let my guy beat your guy. My best on your best, 1v1. Let's line it up and go. And that is really good because Memphis has got some absolute ballers on this club. Here's the problem. Memphis has repeatedly dropped 2 teams that play good team defense. And that is Colorado State. That are these Rams. These Rams down the stretch have been a very interesting team to keep an eye on because they have pulled off some very good wins down the stretch. Colorado State barely lost to Ole Miss a few weeks ago. They have wins over Boise State, over Utah State down the stretch. They had a shootout with a pretty good San Diego State Aztecs team. They were a play-in team. Colorado State is one of those teams that's a team. Memphis is a team that under Penny Hardaway, if things start to go sideways, they start to do more one-on-one ISO stuff than do less of it. Lonzo, I'm taking the Colorado State Rams as a 12-5 upset.
Well, as a blonde bimbo down the hall, I'm going to say I went walking in Memphis. Because I like that. Because I like that song and the fact that Memphis is usually pretty good and they're number 5 seed. But it's just because of the song I picked Memphis.
Put on my blue suede shoes and okay. All right, that's enough of that.
Ma'am, I am tonight.
Walking in Memphis. I'll take Colorado State on the upset. I got Maryland over Grand Canyon. They were a fun story last year, but Cinderella gets to go to the ball one time, ladies and gentlemen. I'll take the Turtles.
I still don't understand how Grand Canyon has it. So they actually have an actual university.
G-C.
Okay. It's not just an online thing.
That is correct, sir.
Maryland's in the Big Ten. I'm going Maryland.
Give me number 6, Mizzou over number 11, Drake. I actually think this game could end up being a little more fun than a 6-11 seed would indicate. The Tigers are favored by 6.5. Drake plus 210 on the money line in this one. But at the end of the day, I think there's just a little too much gas over on that Missouri side of the basketball. They've got multiple players scoring 13.7 or more points per game. I think there's just more firepower. And again, I know it's cliche. I'm getting tired of it as much as you guys are getting tired of me saying it, but I'm giving extra credit to SEC teams this year because of how good that conference was. I'll take Missouri over Texas Tech, Missouri over Drake.
All right, really quick, from my understanding, being an older guy, I'm not sure this is true, but anyone named Drake has had a bad year.
A lot of bad weeks for Drake.
So you got to go Missouri here.
That's a fair way to look at it. Texas Tech over UNC Wilmington. I don't see much of a problem in that one. And then there's a very interesting contest down at the bottom of this bracket in the 7-10 matchup between the Kansas Rock Chalk Jayhawks. They are 5.5-point dogs against John Cal and his Arkansas Razorbacks. And this is another one of those ones that I have bounced back and forth on. In this contest, if you're looking for a line, the Jayhawks are 5.5-point favorites, but it's even money for the cover there. Minus 120 for the Razorbacks to cover up 5.5, which means that Vegas believes this is going to be inside of a 5.5-point game. The Arkansas Razorbacks, 5.5-point underdogs to the Kansas Jayhawks. So they're plus 180 on the money line. I'm going to take them on the money line. Lonzo, this is one of the handful of upsets I got in round 1. Give me the Razorbacks over the Jayhawks.
Yeah, not me. Smallville is in Kansas. I'm a big Superman fan, so I'm going to go with Kansas.
Hey, pick them how you pick them, man. I can't hate on that. And then we wrap up that side of the bracket by dropping down to the bottom line game. That is going to be the St. John's Red Storm taking on Omaha in this one. Ricky Pitino is making a freaking mark on the college basketball landscape here as we go into the March tournament. St. John's 18.5-point favorites is the 2 seed. No 15-2 upset in this one. Give me the Red Storm.
All right, so I'm not a Peyton Manning fan, so I can't go with Omaha, but I do love the Olive Garden, so I'm going with St. John's.
I mean, that's the right play. It's a good St. John's team. St. John's is going to be a fun little upstart Elite 8 pick for a lot of people. Spoiler alert, including me.
So we vary on 2 there. So overall, there's only been 5 altogether that we vary on.
That is true.
Yeah.
That is true. And we do still have the Midwest bracket left to go. However, we have still got the Midwest bracket ahead of us. We got to look and see where we're going to disagree. I already think there's one. Scratch that. I already know that there's one that we are going to disagree with on that side of the bracket. So we'll come to that coming up at the end of the show. Here's what we got going on for you.
You listen to that, and then you've listened to Wire to Wire, and there's no way that they're any better than what we just did. I mean, our pick's so much better than theirs.
I mean, listen,
already.
One of two things is going to happen, pal. Either you and me are going to absolutely nail the first round, in which case we're going to run away with this damn thing, or you and I are going to get hammered together in the first round, and maybe they separate and they get a little advantage on the aggregate of points over in the first round.
So I believe Cole tweeted out that he had 6 teams in the SEC going to the Elite 8 or something like that.
Let's see here. That's for the record, don't have a problem with it. They're very good. Here's who I've got. Let's see. Let's look at the Elite 8. I've got Auburn in there. I've got Alabama Alabama in the Elite Eight. There's 2. I've got Florida in the Elite Eight. There's 3. I've got Mizzou. I've got Tennessee in the round. No, these are Sweet 16. Where's my Final Four? Here's my Elite Eight. I got Auburn in the Elite Eight. There's 1. I got Alabama in the Elite Eight. There's 2. I've got Florida in the Elite Eight. There's 3. I've only got 3 SEC teams in the Elite Eight. I'm gonna tell you right now, I guarantee you, he's got Tennessee in there. That's gonna be a disappointment for him. Rick Barnes' teams always crash out. I have in the Final Four. I have 2 SEC teams in the Final Four, 1 ACC team, and 1 Big Ten team in the Final Four. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to run to a break. We're going to have Hatin Ass Mario Heron from the BetMGM Network. We'll talk a little college basketball with him. I'm hoping that by working with Bradley Evans as long as maybe he's picked up some college basketball via osmosis. We'll see what he's going to bring to the table. We'll get his thoughts on some NFL free agency moves. We'll check in on his thoughts on the NBA as well. Then after that, it's Thursday. You know what that means. Fight Club at 9:20, and boy, howdy, do we have a whole lot of pro wrestling to get to. We are on the road to WrestleMania. Shucky ducky quack quack. 9:20, we're talking wrestling and Fight Club at 9:40-ish question mark. We will take a look at Clemson's bracket, the Midwest, and see who we have moving on from there. It is going to be busy, my dudes and dudettes. You want in? The Hub City Spartanburger text line's there for you. 844-326-3663, 844-326-3663. And when we come back, I will tell you one more time how you can get in to the Fan Upstate Bracket Challenge. Why? Because it was wire to wires. But we're just a couple of heels. Just in here turning things upside down, making some noise, and being the bad guys. So I'll tell you how you can help us invade the wire-to-wire bracket pool. All of that coming up after Lonzo gives you a class in the art of seduction with this Sports Flash.
They hate us because they ain't us. Yeah, don't hate the play, I hate the game.
Oh, that hurt.
The Mount St. Mary's Mountaineers punched their ticket out of the first 4 into the dance with an 83-72 win over American University. Not sure where that is, but they're American. Last night, the Mounties had 22 points out of both Jetty Cordelia and Dola Adebayo, also known as Adebayo. Mount St. Mary's will take on number 1 seed Duke tomorrow afternoon. The Minutemen of Xavier are in after knocking off Texas 86-80 last night. 4 starters reached double digits, including Marcus Foster with 22 and Zach Fremantle with 15. The Minutemen will face Illinois in the first round tomorrow night. Tune in this afternoon from 3 to 7 p.m. for Wire to Wire. Cole Bryson and Diesel ride shotgun on your drive home and get you up to date on the latest local and national sports news. Great guests, great debate, a whole lot of fun. All Wire to Wire. I nearly really stumbled because I kept hearing Mio Mayo on the bio, and yeah, just John Denver. I think, I don't know, maybe possibly. So their promo has the old text line on it in the context of the promo. I'm just trying to figure out, because it's the context of the promo, should that promo be canceled or not?
I don't know how to answer that. I'm not in charge. I'm not in charge of anything.
You're in charge of
Mario?
your own destiny. You're in charge of your own destiny.
I mean, I respect that, but like, some of us are more in charge than others. Predominantly Lonzo.
That's true. I mean, yeah, that's true right at this moment. Just trying to get to retirement, man.
You're always more in charge.
That's all. Just trying to get to retirement someday. Just waiting on my beanbag chair, which now we're being told might still be here today. I don't know. Ordering stuff online sucks.
What's its Amazon?
National Download the March Madness app day. That was yesterday for me. We are set. We are ready. I will have my ass in a chair at 12:15, and I'm not moving until I get told to.
Wow.
That's a good point. I got to download.
Ladies, gentlemen, boys, girls, children of all ages. The fourth and final, the best crackers. Everybody. The fourth and final, the best of the money hour of the Rob Brown Show. I am the hype. Goes now. Welcome back. Great to have you, Rob Brown, the great one, Lonzo. And every Thursday at 9 o'clock in the morning.
Did you say 9?
Yes, I did. I was trying to pretend like I didn't. Thank you for calling it out.
You're welcome.
We take a trip up the road to the nation's capital, Washington, D.C., or some small suburb of it. I'm not entirely sure. And we welcome in the executive producer of BetMGM tonight, which you can hear on this and Fine Odyssey stations nationwide every weekday from 7 to 11 p.m. He is the EP of that show. He is a host on other shows. He's an NBA analyst, an NFL analyst, and just an all-around good guy. Hating ass Mario Heron from the BetMGM Network. What's up, fella?
Just get ready for the madness, man. Just getting all ready for it. Getting excited. You know, called the brother yesterday. Convinced him that the heels can't do anything, but then also got convinced that the heels can make it far. That's just where you're at in March, where you just keep circling around in a loop, talking about the same team over and over again, convincing yourself that they can make it to the Final Four.
No, they absolutely cannot make it to the Final Four. Let's be real clear, all right? They absolutely cannot. I'll tell you what they can do. And I went back and forth on this one. Let's just jump right in, Mario. UNC catches Ole Miss. Chris Beard and his running Rebels. I have talked about this on your show a number of times. This team is one of the most hard-nosed defensive teams in the NCAA March Madness tournament. I am a believer in what Coach K always said, which is, if you want to win this tournament, yeah, you got to go put 70 a game up on the board, but you better be able to slap the hardwood and play a little defense. However, on the flip side, I kind of look at UNC the way that Philly was going into the Super Bowl. If you spend a bunch of time telling a group of high-level athletes, you can't, you shouldn't be here, you don't deserve it, you gonna get the best that they've got to offer. So I'm picking North Carolina to upset Ole Miss in the 11-6 matchup in the first round. The problem you have is that you guys had 13 games against Quad 1 teams, and you won one of them.
Yeah, some would say that's bad. Some would say that's not very good. But look at the record against Quad 2 and Quad 3. It's pretty good.
It is pretty good if you make sure to point out that 0 of those Quad 2 and 3 teams are tournament teams. Long as you don't point that out, it sounds pretty good.
As long as you don't point that out, yes, absolutely. But the thing that so my bracket, I actually have Ole Miss making it a little bit farther than probably a lot of people. Like I have them in the Sweet 16, and it's because in March the fault I always have is I always trust the coaching over everything, and I trust in Chris Beard over Hubert Davis 10 times out of 10.
Sure,
and I think Chris Beard is also coming in this tournament. By the way, a little bit of more fire than usual. it was pretty known and talked about that he really wanted that IU coaching job, and that he really kind of made sure that the people that represented him let them know that he wants the job, and they didn't go for him and they didn't get him. I think he's going to come into this going, all right, you know what? I'm going to show everyone, hey, I'm still a top 10 coach in all of college basketball. I'm going to show you guys why not getting me for a blue blood job was a pretty big mistake. So that's the thing that worries me going into this matchup for UNC, and why I kind of have Ole Miss going a little bit farther is because I have a trusted coach, I think, with a little chip on his shoulder, who's going to come in and make some chaos.
Honestly, man, that is exactly the take I have. This matchup for me is a weird one because I don't think either one of these two basketball teams is like Final Four caliber. I think they're both good, and I think they both probably deserve maybe a little bit more credit than they're getting. North Carolina sneaking in as team 68 out of 68. Yeah, there's controversy because Bubba Cunningham was on the committee. Headed the committee. There's controversies there for sure. I look at Ole Miss and I go, really good defensive team, not super stellar offensively. It's good enough to win a game or two. I hate to do this, and I've said this on this show. I've said it on your show. I do not like to bet intangibles, right? I don't like, well, this team's feeling really confident or this team's got the money. I don't like to bet that. Show me the numbers and let's put them down on paper. I'm a nerd. What do you want? I want empirical evidence. This is the one game in the opening round that I'm like, this is a vibes game. It's Chris Beard out there to show, yeah, I had some off-court troubles. He did. Pretty bad ones, too, that are the reason he got passed up on for higher caliber jobs. And then I got a North Carolina team that's got a guy like R.J. Davis who's been told by the time they tip off tomorrow night 5 times, you suck, you shouldn't be here, out to prove that, yeah, I mean, we didn't have the year we wanted, but we don't suck and we should be here. This is a vibes game to me, and I got to tell you, I got until 12:14, and I might click the button 15 times between here and there to change the result on this game.
So it's interesting you kind of brought up the vibes thing, because that's why I changed a pick that I had yesterday based off news that came in. So like yesterday we had it announced that Will Wade's going to NC State after this season once they lose in the NCAA tournament. As soon as I kind of heard that, I was talking to our buddy Ryan Horvath about it, and I go, that actually makes me less confident in this McNeese team in the matchup against Clemson. So look at Will Wade, who, let's just say not the best guy outside of coaching, some would say. And what is his inspiration? Like, is he really that locked in right now? Like, he's getting the NC State job that he so ever wanted, and kind of back in a Power 5 conference that he always wanted to be in, and he's making his way back up. Okay, so he has that. Is there a distraction there? Is there something that, you're more focused on this than that? And you face a Clemson team that still is pretty talented. That's an ACC team, and your team, has to have a pretty damn good day in order to pull off this upset. Stuff like that, Rob, I think is actually pretty key in the NCAA tournament. I think travel's a key. I think 3-point shooting's a key. Like, stuff like that you got to factor in, because, again, these are kids. Like, these are college kids. One of my friends always said, one of my favorite quotes is, we're betting on a sport where one bad math test could really affect it. So it's just something to, keep in mind, because it does factor and does play a role in how this tournament kind of shakes up.
Let's talk about that Clemson Will Wade McNeese State matchup, because Zoe and I are on opposite sides of the spectrum on this. All right. And we were going to reveal it in the last segment, but I'll do it now. I'm actually taking McNeese State for the upset over Clemson, a team that I cover, a team that I am next door to. And I'm taking it for a couple of reasons. Number one, McNeese State and Clemson both play a very similar style of basketball. They both want to be suffocating on the defensive end. They are going to be nothing flashy, nothing spectacular on the offensive end. In Shefflin, Victor Lykin for Clemson, they're like Jokic. It's not exciting, but it's effective. McNeese State's quite the opposite, quite the same. Suffocating defense, nothing that's going to blow you away. They're only going to have at most like maybe one clip in the one shining moment montage when it's all said and done, no matter how deep they go in this tournament, either one of them. But when you add those two things together and it becomes a game of which team plays their game better, and that team's probably going to win, a much closer matchup than I think a 5-12 indicates here. I look at Will Wade, who has accepted the NC State job. He's got a foot out the door. What an exclamation point on his time at McNeese State, whether he goes on past the round of 32 or not. to cap it off with a win over his alma mater. He was a Clemson guy, graduated 05, got his coaching career started there. This is a game that would be a landmark win for him. And the boys, even if they are bummed that he's leaving head to NC State, from what I've read and understand, everybody that's played for Will Wade at McNeese loves Will Wade and will go to war for this cat. This is another vibes game for me. I think Clemson's a better basketball team. I just think McNeese State has got a lot to play for here on the way out the door. I'm taking the Cowboys as one of 2 5-12 upsets.
And see, Mario, he's leaving out the point that we fought earlier, because Will Wade he'll put off practice. He'll do things whenever Clemson's playing football. Clemson is more important to him than McNeese State. His loyalty to his old school, and that's ridiculous. And I had them upsetting Clemson, and I changed it as soon as I heard that story, because he won't put his foot on the throat if they're winning. He'll make poor decisions because that's his alma mater, and he's on his way out the door anyway. And I'm not sure the guy should be coaching basketball.
I just get worried about, like, I do get it's his alma mater, and there is a little more where, like, passion, like, oh, I got to beat him. Even if you're a fan of him, like, I just got to beat him to kind of show a statement. And let's be honest, that job position comes up, and he's at NC State, and he has 2 good years or 1 good year. That guy's going to full court press for that job. You know, like that's what he's going to want to end up going to. I still just hesitate. I still think Clemson actually pulls this off. I do think there's a 5-12 upset in there. I know betting-wise they're a favorite, but like I think Colorado State's going to knock off Memphis. Colorado State's one of the hottest teams going into this tournament. Yeah, so I think that's an obvious 5-12. That's an upset. A lot of people like UC San Diego over Michigan. Like that's another really, really popular one that's gotten some heat because they're such a good three-point shooting team. But so is Liberty, so watch for that one over Oregon, but that's a Big Ten team. And I, try not to fade too many Big Tens. I still think Clemson gets it done, though. I think Will Wade, I could also see in terms of where he's going to lock in and maybe put his foot on the throat, but also maybe show his cards too much and overplay something and just kind of not think the game through as well. And that's where Clemson's able to kind of jump on them and win that game. So I'll still take Clemson in that. But I have this might be stupid, guys, but in my bracket, I do have a 15 taken down to 2.
A 15. Okay, hang on. Don't tell me which one it is. Don't tell me which one it is. I am going to stab in the dark here that you are taking. Damn. Wofford over Tennessee in the annual Rick Barnes Collapse-a-thon.
No, I'm a Rick Barnes stan, actually. I love Rick Barnes. I have Bryant over Michigan State.
What? Shut up. With everything Tom Izzo's doing, Tom Izzo is fighting for Coach of the Year right now.
That's half of my championship game, mister. That's not going to happen.
Bryant, all their starters are 6'6" and above. That is a nightmare to go up against in the first round. Defensively, they're... What?
I'm 6'3" and I still suck. Like that, you got to be able to ball.
No, well, they can ball. They made it to a tournament, and they're an amazing defensive team. They attack the boards like no other. At Michigan State, their problem is they don't really have a FU score. It's kind of by committee. So if you have that against a team that has crazy good length, that's strong defensively, that's a first-round matchup that maybe you're not completely ready for, and, maybe to start that game, you get a little shocked by the size, the speed, and the strength of them, and you realize, oh, my God, this team's not really scared of us. Bryant's been to the dance before. It's not like a shock to them. I think that's a possible upset. For the 2 seed, I think Bryant's there. If I was any Power 5 coach, if I was any blue blood, the last thing I'd want to do is face a smaller school and see that size, because when you face smaller schools, you lean on your size. What was St. Peter's when they had not one guy over 6'7"? What do? You go inside. That's how UNC beat them. They go, Manic, Baycott, you are literally going to touch the ball 2,000 times today because you're the biggest guys on the floor. That's how Texas A&M beat UNC back in 2000. I think it was 21. Is they just had 2 7-footers and they just attacked. They had Robert Williams was on that team, and God, I hated that guy for the full 2 hours. That's how you win games. So the size, man. Let me tell you something. Size matters, and that's sad for me too.
I'm gonna buddy you one more time here. buddy. This team gave up a $112. Granted, it's a tournament team. They gave up a $112 to GCU. They gave up 99 to St. John's, and they lost to the greatest university name, the Brown Bears. I can't ride with you here, man. I'll tell you what. If Bryant knocks off Michigan State, you can just come in and host an hour of the show next week.
All right, I'm gonna hold you to that. I'll call you.
Bet.
We'll have fun.
We'll have fun.
All right. This has been the SEC's year in basketball. I have been on your show dating back to like November of last year, pointing out, I think Janai Broome, even though he had a letdown in the last 5 games of the year, I think Janai Broome was overall the best basketball player in college basketball. I think the SEC has had the single best year in any one sport that any conference has ever had in any individual year. They got 14 teams in. Granted, Texas bumped in the play-in last night, but they were still in the tournament. So 13 if you want to knock it down, whatever. I've got 2 SEC teams in the Final Four. I got Florida in there, who has become the trendy hot pick. I've got Auburn in there, and I'll tell you, it was a lot for me to pick Auburn over Michigan State, but I think Auburn, by earning that number 1 overall, set themselves up in the bracket they wanted to be in for a Final Four shot. Ultimately, there's just not a lot of Bamas hanging around there that I think are a danger to them. Where do you put the best SEC teams in the country? Do you have 1, 2, 3, 4 in the Final Four? Is one of them a national champion? Where are you at?
3 in my Final Four, 1 in my championship, and 1 is my national champion. That is the Florida Gators. I love Florida. I will say, the committee, thanks for like making life 10 times harder for them. They go through the hardest conference in basketball. They win it, and you go, to reward you guys, we're going to give you St. John's, Texas Tech, Maryland, and here's Bill Self, Dan Hurley, and Coach Cal all in your side of the bracket. Have fun. Like, I come on, man. Like, throw them a bone. At least give them something easy. That being said, I think they're the most battle-tested. I think they are the hottest team entering the tournament. I think if I had to kind of rank my picks for like champion, I'd put Auburn at number 2. And it was because of actually what Bruce Weber was talking to us on BetMGM time a couple of days ago. And he was saying on his Illinois team, I think that was 05 when they got smoked by Carolina in the title game because Carolina's, GOAT number 1. We're the blue blood, baby. He was saying how they had a moment where they were like going undefeated in the Big Ten and then like they finally lost. And it was almost like he said at practice, he's like, guys, notice the media's not here. It's just us. And he's like, there's almost a relaxation. I think Auburn, with the recent struggles that they've had to end the season, it's almost a relaxation like, hey, we're getting this out. Like, there's no more of this, like, constant pressure of, is Auburn, like, this super team, this greatest team we've ever seen? Like, they're getting it out, and now they can go into this tournament going, hey, it's a fresh slate. We had some rest. Let's go show everyone why we have the most quad-1 wins in all of college basketball, why we're the best. So I have them for, like, a 2 spot, and then maybe, like, 3, I'll put Duke there. I just worry with Duke. The ACC was very, very weak. And, let's say you have to face, I don't think they're going to make it that far. I have them this far on my bracket. But, like, you face in Arizona. Arizona's better than a lot of the ACC talent. Even like a BYU is going to be a tough get for them. So, like, if you have to go that route, we'll see
Mississippi
what happens.
State's going to beat the hell out of him in a round. I mean, I think Duke wins, but Mississippi State's going to bang the Duke Blue Devils underneath the glass.
Exactly. Like, there's going to be some tough matchups for them. So, like, we'll see how it goes. I did something possibly a little bit stupid. But it's because I don't trust this one seed. Yeah, I know. I gave Rick Barnes his first Final Four because I don't trust Houston at all this year, not even a little bit. So I trust Houston. I trust Tennessee in the Final Four.
I looked up and down where Tennessee's coming from. Listen, first off, watch out for the Terriers, baby. The Wofford Terriers are hungry. All right.
Yeah. That works.
The Terriers are hungry in round number 1. They go out there and shock the Paladins of FU one-time Furman University in the SoCon title. They like to play physical up and down. Here's the thing. They get by them. They got UCLA waiting in round 2. Mick Cronin is, to me, the best college basketball coach that literally no one is talking about right now. I could see UCLA bumping him. And then who's waiting from the top half of the bracket? The ILL of one Bradley Evans are up there. Kentucky, who's got the better of them, are up there. And Clemson's waiting up there. So's Georgia, by the way. A Georgia-Tennessee Sweet 16 matchup injected in my veins, pal. I don't know that it's as clean cut as you're making it.
I agree, but I trust him defensively. I trust that he was so close last year. And I trust that I think Chaz can get a bucket for him when they need to. So I like all those things. I don't trust Kentucky because I don't know how healthy they are. UCLA, my worry is that they would play the same type of game with Tennessee. And if you play Tennessee's game, you're not going to win, right? You got to take it, you got to speed up the floor a little bit. You got to kind of get them in transition because if you let them just walk it up the floor and you let that defense get set, good luck scoring. You know what I mean? You got to change it up a little bit. I would say the thing that worries me a lot is Purdue because of Braden Allen's one of the best guards in the country. And again, veteran guy that's kind of been, not shy for the moment. That would worry me a little bit. But I think they can get all the way through that. And then even if they get Houston, the Elite Eight spot, Houston is 317th in free throws attempted in college basketball. They are outside the top 100 in free throw percentage. If it gets to a point where, let's say, Houston's up 2, and then, oh, crap, we got a foul, you are so in that game. You are, you know what I mean? There's a chance that they'll miss a couple of free throws. You get a chance to tie it, go into OT, or a chance to win the game. If a team is bad from the free throw line in March, they will not win. Tell that to Derrick Rose. Tell that to Coach Cal, Memphis Tigers. They'll tell you a whole story about that. Justin Timberlake roasted them at the ESPYs for it. So just watch out for that.
That's how I make my selections. It's who did Justin Timberlake roast at the ESPYs. Hatin ass Mario Heron, EP, executive producer of BetMGM Tonight, which airs 7 to 11. Buddy, I wish you nothing but the best of luck working with Brad Evans this week.
Thank you. It's certainly going to be something. And we'll see. And also, everyone make sure to tune in to tonight because the great Rob Brown will be joining us at 8:20 p.m. Eastern to break down more college basketball. So it's going to be a lot of fun, live reactions, and more. So come hop in.
Hell yeah. Mario Heron, we will talk to you next week, big dog. Thank you as always.
Thank you.
The legendary Hatin ass Mario. Next up, Fight Club. And we're going late in the segment. Deal with it. It's the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
So, Mario, even though you are a non-wrestling fan, I'm sure you heard about the John Cena turn.
Yeah. So I didn't understand, the big event of it. So I had Brandon explain it to me, and I was like, oh, that makes more sense now. Because I do remember growing up, he was always, the most likable guy. He always wanted to cheer for him and stuff like that. By the way, not a veteran. I would have never known.
So I'm trying to think of who's a good guy in history in cinema or on TV that suddenly they turn into 007 suddenly is a bad guy.
So
I don't know.
I was on BetMGM Tonight. That was the week I sat in with you guys for those 3 nights. And we got into it, and I explained it to Mario then that this would be like if Luka won 16 NBA championships with the Mavericks. Everybody loved him, and he said the whole time, I'm a Mav for life, I'm a Mav for life, I'm a Mav for life. And then a day before the season, he went, I'm a Laker now, and he just left. We'd all be like, yo, what the hell, man?
Oh, that's a good one.
Kind of like what LeBron did with Cavs and Heat.
Yeah.
LeBron was very likable, then when he went to the Heat, everyone was like, all right, screw this guy.
That's a good one, James, except for Mr. Rogers is creepy. But if Mr. Rogers suddenly became a bad guy, he comes in, he turns into Mr. Robinson.
Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood.
From Saturday Night Live. If that were to happen, it would be that kind of a
Lonzo's Mr.
shock.
Rogers take is his worst take in
Mr.
radio.
Rogers is one of the creepiest people ever to be
Rogers
on
was a calming, soothing voice in a chaotic
freaky
and
little
turbulent
puppets and talking to trains. Dude was so
It's
weird.
for children.
And no one walks in. I don't care if I've had kids. I've been around kids. I don't remember anyone walking in the room and suddenly putting on their slippers. That's creepy.
I literally put on slippers every day.
Yeah, but that's because you got a feet problem. You don't want your feet to touch anything, nothing. It's weird. You're like the anti-feet fetish.
Lonzo might have a point here. Mr. Rogers is kind of a weird situation.
Mario, you can shut your damn mouth too. Is what you can do.
I don't
Mr.
trust
Rogers,
anyone that does
Hunter,
good shows.
Bob Ross are on the Mount Rushmore of good TV people.
Do not put
Bob Ross was just on acid.
Yeah, but don't put Bob Ross and Mr. Rogers in the same sentence.
Same sentence. I will put them on the Mount Rushmore of TV personalities with Crocodile Hunter and LeVar Burton. That's my 4.
Okay, shot in the dark, but do you have nieces and nephews, right, Rob? And
Yes,
do you have Lonzo, or do you have kids?
I have a grandkid because I'm that old.
Do they watch like the dinosaur farm? I think what it's called. It's on YouTube.
I know what you're talking about, but no, I don't think so.
Okay, I think that creeps me out. Every time my nieces or nephew, I'm home and they're watching that, I'm like, something's fishy here.
You know what's really creepy? Look up Mr. Blippy.
I know Mr.
That
Blippy
one.
well.
Yeah. Do you know how that started, by the way?
No, I'm afraid to find out though.
Give it a Google.
I don't know if I want to watch it though, because my granddaughter watches like is this his voice alone? I mean, I guess maybe appealing to kids, but it's so weird. So weird.
It's weird. It's weird. Yeah. I don't know. Something's up there.
No, you have 30 seconds.
All right. I'll see you, fellas.
See ya.
Butterfly in the sky. I can go twice as high. Take a look. It's in a book. Reading Rainbow. I can go anywhere.
Welcome into the Fight Club, where I am not a heel. I am not a baby face. I'm a human being. I don't know about Rob, but I am all those things. You know what I am? And I'm going to profess this right now. And stop all your contrarian crap, okay? Anyone who says I'm a contrarian, you're wrong, okay? I just want you to know that. I've been a John Cena fan from the beginning. I didn't understand all you people booing him. I didn't understand all the Cena sucks stuff. You either want greatness or you don't, and I have never understood that. And I will give you a case in point. A few years ago, I work with a lot of younger people. On the Upstate Pulse, we talk a lot of wrestling, or we used to at the time, had some wrestling fans on there with me at the time. Patrick Brown and I went out to get some food, our pregame meal before the show. We're coming back. Windows are down. It's the middle of summer, and John Cena's theme song comes on my Spotify because, as I said, been a Cena guy. I cranked that up. He tried to sink down into the seat of the smart car, which is impossible. You're in a smart car. You cannot get down to the floorboard. Patrick, a large guy, he could not do it. And I'm like, what's wrong with you? He's like, we don't like him. And it's like, who is we? Okay? So someone decided it's cool to not like the best, the guy who carried everything for a long period of time for the WWE. When it was failing, there was one consistent guy, and that was John Cena. The torch was passed to him. He took it, and he ran with it, and he carried it for a long period of time. And everything that he said in his promo was true, including the "you can't see me" joke. It wasn't funny then. It's not funny now. And I'm guessing there's probably a John Cena hater across from me. I know there's probably people watching, definitely, and listening that are John Cena haters. And you guys, you make no sense. You never made no sense to me. That, by far, is one of the best promos I've ever seen in my entire life. That's right up there with Dusty Rhodes, without a doubt. Now, you could take your pipe bomb, which was written by writers, and say, oh, well, that guy tells it like it is. No, that guy, that punk, tells it like it was written for him to say. John Cena, no one builds a crowd up like him. No one can talk like him. And I'm glad he finally told all you guys what he really feels about you.
Whew, okay. Let's go with a lot of response here. Let's start with this one. Yeah, I absolutely was a John Cena hater. And I hated John Cena because...
Why are you changing your voice? Why are you changing your voice? Why don't you be real about why you hate John Cena?
When I talk like this is real. This is the real.
Wow. No wonder you go with your radio voice.
Wow. It was easy to hate John Cena. And it was easy to hate John Cena.
If you're a follower, if you're a lemming.
It was easy to hate John Cena because when John Cena was in his prime, it was the time that I was stopping liking wrestling as somebody who loved the characters and started liking wrestling from the adult perspective of I know kayfabe and I know storytelling and I know movies and I was looking at it from a more all-around perspective. And for a very long time, every John Cena match was the same match. Every one of them. He started off hot. He got put down. 5 moves of doom. You can't see me. Cena wins, LOL.
You've just described almost every wrestling match, period.
It was 20 years of the same match. Over and over. I didn't even mind the overacting from John Cena. It was just when Cena came out, it was a pee break because you knew what was going to happen every single damn time. Now, that does not diminish the accomplishments of John Cena. It does not diminish the fact that he was able to do that with such an entertaining twist that he was able to stay around to win 16 and probably soon to be 17 world championships. I still respect John Cena, but as a wrestling fan, for about 17 years, John Cena matches were boring because it's the same thing I've turned on the Young Bucks. It's the same set of spots every single damn match. With all of that being said, John Cena's promo was a masterclass. Because he's exactly right. I immediately snapped back to a handful of years ago when Cena ripped his bicep and had to step away from surgery, and he came out and he gave this very heartfelt, I'm leaving the WWE. I've done what I can do. I've got everything done I can get done. It is what it is, and I got to go have the surgery, so I'm done. And the crowd cheered and chanted, na 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 na, hey, 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 goodbye at him. I was bored by and disliked John Cena because it was just repetitive. But that promo was a masterclass in how to work a crowd. I am more of a John Cena fan today than I have been in his entire career.
All right, so you just proved another point for me, and I thank you for that because I expected you to do that. Suddenly, people are going to come out of the woodwork and like John Cena now because there are a lot of people that only like heels. It's weird. Even though John Cena said he's not one, we all know he is now. There are people out there that say Roman Reigns will never be this. Oh, well, he finally turned heel, so Vince McMahon was wrong, even though he was right. And he said he would be the star that he is, and he was absolutely right. There are some people out there that only like the bad guy. This just goes down to you not liking Superman. It's the same thing.
Timeout. First off, yes, it is. That is exactly correct. It has been a formulaic process down to the match timing his entire career. Yes, that's boring. Superman, every time a new supervillain pops up, all of a sudden Superman just happens to have this superpower that he's had in his back pocket that he's never done before, but now he's got it. John Cena's entire career has been an ex machina career where it's just anytime a problem happens, he just happens to have the superpower answered in the back of his jorts ready to go. It is not that I just like heels. It is that I like characters who have A, depth, and B, a point. John Cena's correct. Kevin Owens is correct. Drew McIntyre is correct.
I also want to say
Naomi is correct.
I don't think you've ever watched the Justice League series, ever. Because if you had, and I'm rewatching with my granddaughter, and she's watching for the first time, Superman gets his butt kicked almost every single episode.
The point, it's an overarching point. I don't need to go into the depths of every episode of every Superman thing that's ever been made. In the grand scope of 100 years of Superman, it's always been that way. Same with John Cena. There were some legendary pay-per-view events with John Cena.
I believe amalgamizing everything that ever happened in Superman.
Correct, because if something happens 90% of the time, that's
doing the same with
thing.
John Cena. All I want to say is none of you have the right to like John Cena now. You don't have the right. Turn off the product when he's on. You don't have the right to like him now because suddenly he's a bad guy.
Look who's an arbiter now.
Bunch of hypocrites. Yeah, I learned from the best. Bunch of hypocrites out there. You cannot like Cena anymore. You can't. You can't suddenly like Cena.
I can
now
because
you
for
can't.
20 years,
you can't. No talk.
Cena was dumb and bad with the character. For me, a grown adult, it didn't connect with me. Just like as Joe pointed out, Hogan in the 80s didn't like him either as a face. Then he goes to the NWO, and you're like, oh, he's kind of got a point. He's kind of right. I am at a point in my life where I can acknowledge and admit that sometimes the bad guy's right.
When people turn bad guys, then you like them.
No.
Are there any good guys you like?
When they have depth and a point.
Name me a good guy you like.
Jey Uso.
Even after the botch, you like him.
Yeah, I mean, his bad matches right now, but I like Jey Uso. I was never a bigger fan as an adult than the Daniel Bryan Yes movement. I was all in.
It's so unsettling because there's a slight delay, so when you do that, then it does it on the screen. It's so weird. It's like watching The Wave.
I like characters.
Which you're probably not a fan of that either.
I hate The Wave. With depth and a point. And it just so happens that over the years, specifically recently, because it's emphasizing that I have depth and a point.
Well, thank you for not using the middle finger.
Depth and a point. John Cena, the heel, has depth of character. My man looked one 12-year-old child in the face and said, that kid sucks. That's awesome. And he's right. I have been crapping on this guy for 20 years. And now he's going, bleep you guys. It's about me now. And as somebody who has been crapped on for a long time and eventually had to go into business for himself, and it put me where I am now, I get it.
All right. Before we go to break.
Oh, we're going long.
Okay. I was going to say, let's talk about something that you and I do agree on. Stephanie McClure is double champ. And she's amazing, by the way. But I am curious about what you think. Yeah, the horns are sweet. They really are. And, of course, you would like that. What happened to Julia? I mean, she was the big deal. She came in, and then suddenly she loses to her. Is she moving up? What's going on with suddenly Stephanie is the big thing? And I get it. They both came in with equal fanfare. They're both really big on elsewhere. And Julia wins the championship first, and then now Stephanie has all the gold. Well, what happened to Julia?
Sometimes wrestling, like everything in life, is simple. We've had this conversation with every sport in America. Why, oh, why does anything happen? And the answer is very simply because it makes the money. And when Stephanie McClure started taking off and doing her move that made Booker T need a change of pants once per show, the crowd just jumped on board. Love book, all right? The crowd jumped on board, and the answer is Stephanie McClure is not just a wildly talented athlete, but she's also a friggin' Latina smoke show on top of it. And at the end of the day, sometimes it's real simple. The super hot chick who's also really good at her job just catches on. You're growing increasingly frustrated with the overwhelming power of one Rhea Ripley. There's one reason Rhea Ripley is still Rhea Ripley, and it's because she comes on screen and me and the boys fire up the group thread about her every time.
I would say probably the majority of the NXT roster is better wrestlers and prettier than Rhea Ripley. You guys,
it doesn't matter.
You guys are a little weird with your fascination with her. I don't entirely get it. And when she's not in the ring, she don't dress like that. She don't act like that.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't
matter.
It's all a facade to
hot is subjective. You don't find her attractive.
Wade Barrett says, no, I don't.
No, I wasn't asking you a question. I was making a statement.
She's fake.
You don't find her attractive.
Liv Morgan's prettier than her.
That is
Bianca
your
Belair's
opinion.
prettier than her.
That is your opinion.
And both of them better wrestlers than
That
her.
is your opinion. But you are one dude. And I am telling you, when mommy comes out on the stage, I have literally, with my own eyes in the building, watched arenas full of people
Apparently
pop
you
for
want
her.
to be dominated. I mean, whatever you're into, man.
Joey B, you want to help
to-
me out on this
you
one?
want
Because I
someone to
promise you, Daddy's not alone.
You want someone in leather to make you call her mommy.
Pal, do you understand that like 90% of my attraction to my wife is the fact that she will look me in the face and go, here's what we're doing today?
All right, let's
and
move-
I go, hell yeah, mama.
Let's move on to something related to that, and that would be torture. John Moxley, they got to stop. Okay, we talk about. I mean, the blood and stuff should be used as a surprise, as a shock. He got spikes stuck in his back last night by Cope. Well, he landed on it. He didn't even hit him with it. He landed on it. It got impaled so bad that they had to bring people in to get it unstuck from his back. That's too far. Okay? Everyone who's into it, can you at least say, hey, maybe don't do that again? Maybe don't do that again.
Here's the recipe.
So you picked up a bat. It reminded me of when Negan beat up Glenn.
Hit Abraham so hard, or Glenn so hard his eyes popped out. That was one of the wildest things I've ever seen.
You know what happened? A lot of people stopped watching Walking Dead after that. I was one of those.
So here's the storm, because you have a couple of things that come up with that. Number one, AEW is struggling in the storytelling department right now, and it is starting to become more and more apparent to the point that it's the predominant talking point. Number two, the rush that we all felt when Edge moved over and became Adam Copeland has gone away because Cope just doesn't work. And number three, as much as I hate to say it, because one of the few things you and I disagree on is that John Moxley's awesome, and we love Mox. But here's the deal. The story that Mox has been in for 2 years now stinks. Once the BCC broke up, it stinks. And so it got to a point where they went from having one of the hottest guys on tour in John Moxley to one of the most boring things in the game with John Moxley. Sometimes you just got to have a shock moment. The problem is if you don't take that shock moment and make it if it's just a moment of dude got impaled for the sake of getting impaled, great. We saw one weird 5-second move that we're going to talk about for a long time, but it doesn't do anything to make me follow it.
Okay, and those of you coming at me, Moxley is still my favorite wrestler today. He still is, but he's a better wrestler than what he's doing. And
Here's the other problem. He's in there against Cope. Adam Copeland, Edge, who we all know and love, and is also closer to 60 than 40. He can't go like that anymore. So you have to do a big spot to make that match compelling, because otherwise it's an old Cope taking on a Mox who clearly has to pull back so he doesn't outshine a legend. And so it ends up where it's like, well, we got to do something big and ridiculous and over the top, and that's what they came up with.
So what you're saying is the guy who's talking about how wrestling needs to change is wrestling an old guy when he could be wrestling the best wrestler in the world today.
John Moxley,
who's on that roster.
John, so I don't even mind the hypocrisy of John Moxley's character, because that's kind of part of the depth of the heel. It's just that he surrounded himself with, outside of Cesaro, a bunch of guys who just aren't that good, and they ran with a story that just wasn't that good for too long, and it ended with a 50-whatever-year-old wrestler who just ain't the same guy anymore. I'll tell you the thing, just give me back Dean Ambrose, because the Mountie always gets his man. Wrestling, it's the best. Back after this for the final segment of the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
You know, the contrarian thing, it's kind of annoying because contrarians disagree just to disagree. If I disagree with someone on something, it's because I truly believe the opposite. That doesn't make me a contrarian. That just makes me have a different belief than the person I'm talking to. And just because a bunch of you agree with Rob, it doesn't mean that there's not some people out there who agree with me. And if one person agrees with me, then that knocks out your contrarianism. No, it doesn't. It does. It does. You're wrong. You're absolutely wrong. I'm older, I'm wiser, and that makes you wrong.
If there's 100 people in a room that hold an opinion, 98 of them are on one side. Contrarian is the intent of the disagreement, not the disagreement itself. If the intent of the disagreement is to disagree solely for the sake of causing an argument, you're a contrarian. If you genuinely just go, I don't find Rhea Ripley attractive, that's not a contrarian argument if you genuinely don't.
Rob,
if you
I don't find her attractive.
Saying you do.
I mean,
there are arguments that you have that I truly believe you hold because you are contrarian.
I would never do such a thing for radio, because how in the world would someone do that to cause debate on a radio show to make it more interesting? I would never do such a thing. I never went to school for radio, so how would I even know how to do that? I don't know why I'm here. I wait to be yanked off the air every single day, which hasn't happened for almost 30 years, but probably will happen in the next week. I don't know. So, I mean.
The hottest after he left sports stuttering, MGS stuttering.
Keegan, you know what I got? This is going to be a very contrarian take to what you're saying. I got a hug for you, man. There you go, right here. Arms wide open, even though you left me behind too. Arms wide open. Not under the sunlight, whatever, because there's clouds out there. But
welcome to this place. I show you everything.
Kane, I'm okay with him hating me. I'm okay with it. I deserve it.
Listen, John Cena broke up with me on Monday.
And that little Brussels kid, that's a work. They planted that kid.
I am so sad that you live in a world where everything's a work. Where sometimes awesome stuff, like John Cena.
By the way, Joe, I just want to say, since Cody left AEW, that's when it went downhill. So think of how you want. Creatively, I think Cody was one of the reasons why it did so well in the beginning.
I think Cody was one of the reasons it did so well in the beginning. I think the torch got taken from Cody by Peak MJF, by a handful of other guys in that group, the Young Bucks included. And I think once they had that rash, I agree. Once that rash got, Cody was boring in AEW for the same reason that Cena was boring in the WWE for so long. It was just Cody wins LOL all the time. All right, let us sprint down the Midwestern side of the bracket in the NCAA March Madness tournament. I am taking Houston over SIUE. I'm taking in a 8-9 upset the Georgia Bulldogs over Gonzaga. This team has got that dog in them, and even though it is a Bulldog v. Bulldog matchup in round number one, this Georgia team is the same team that beat Florida, that beat Auburn down the stretch. It's a good team. I'm taking Georgia to the 9 seed over the 8 seed Gonzaga. I love you, Joe. Heart hands emoji. I am taking the 12-5 upset of McNeese over Clemson. This is, I've told you everything I need to tell you about this game. If you missed it, we talked extensively about it back in the first hour of the show. Will Wade wants an exclamation point as he leaves McNeese to go to NC State University. Give me the 12-5 upset of McNeese over Clemson. Number 4, Purdue over High Point. The ILL of one Bradley Evans over Xavier, who got in via the play-in ticket last night. I'll take Kentucky over Troy, despite the fact that I love me a Waffle House recruiting trip. Give me UCLA over Utah State. Mick Cronin ain't no joke. And while I will be adorned tonight at 6:50 p.m. in the black and gold of the Wofford Terriers, I'm pulling for you, Terriers. Unfortunately, because I got to beat Diesel and Cole in the bracket, I'll take the Volunteers to win the 2-15 matchup there.
All right, so until today, I had Clemson losing to McNeese State, but Will Wade, his loyalties are with Clemson. He's playing against Clemson. He doesn't need to be in sports anymore because he changes everything around to watch his team play. So I'm going with Clemson to win that. And the other thing that we disagree with is I have Gonzaga over Georgia. So the majority of our disagreements are 8-9 matchups, which could go either way.
Yeah, which are not as big of a deal as some of the other spots. I don't know, man. I as somebody when I met my wife in 2020, we started dating towards the end of that summer. And when we were talking, as the kids say, I let her into little aspects, little tweaks, little things about my life that I have learned as I did not get married until I was almost 40 years old, that you should put on the front burner, not the back. And one of those is, listen, if this ever goes long term and gets serious, I need you to know that when the NFL season starts up, if the Saints are on TV, I'm not doing anything else. I'm not going antiquing. I'm not going shopping. I'm not cleaning. I'm not going to brunch. I'm not going to lunch. I'm not going to dinner. If they're on the Monday night broadcast, don't make plans. If they're on Thursday night, don't make plans. If they're on Sunday midday, afternoon, or evenings, I'm busy. Don't make plans. Y'all, I mean it when I tell you. I'm not trying to be sappy and cliche. She's not listening. I can't score brownie points anyway. My wife's the most important person in my life, and I will do anything that she wants to do. I have missed bigger sporting events because she said, I need you to do this thing with me. Or, hell, I want you to do this thing with me. And I go, you know what, sweetie, that's fine. I can record the hockey game or the golf tournament or the whatever, and I'll do this thing with you because you're the most important thing in the world to me. That loyalty to now my number one team comes first, even over that. And she knows that. Just because my guy loves Clemson, a place that gave him his start to be here, doesn't mean he doesn't want to go beat their ass and go win a tournament game and make it to the Sweet 16.
I think it absolutely means that because he's not going to be there. He's going elsewhere.
And now the Rob Brown Show presents.
That's twice now. Please stop.
That one doesn't count. That broke the laws of physics. That was supposed to bounce back to me.
Did it? I'm going to have to hide that baseball. And I'm not going antiquing. I might actually pull that. That was weird. All right,
I like antiquing.
I'm not going antiquing.
I like antiquing. Antiquing's fun. I'll go antiquing most days, just not when the Saints are on.
Okay. The first thing that's Xing is Patrick Mahomes.
Patrick Mahomes is Xing because the new season of Quarterback 2 got announced that dropped the hype video, and he wasn't invited to the Cool Kids Club.
No, he is Xing because his workout video out of how hard he's getting ready. It looks like he might, not only did he get a haircut, he might be getting rid of the dad bod. Oh, you're making a look on your face?
I mean,
you can't do the workout he's doing.
No, of course I can't, Lonzo. I'm also not a 26-year-old NFL player. Listen,
I'm not sure of his age, but I'll just say that you're correct.
I don't care. There are two things in the world in sports that I just am never going to get behind. Athlete workout videos and recruiting ceremonies. I don't care.
Okay, Rob, you've been mostly negative this entire day. But this next thing that I say will, of course, make you happy. Happy first day of spring, Rob.
Is it? Is that today?
It is today.
Is it solstice time?
It's happy first day of spring day, Rob.
It's supposed to be rainy this afternoon. I'm going outside to watch basketball with my friends and my dog, and now I'm being told it's going to rain today. I know that April showers bring May flowers.
30% chance that it's not April.
Yeah, but it's at 3:10 when the Tigers tip off.
Okay, well, they're going to win, so it doesn't really matter. All right, the next thing that's Xing is Sting.
It's Sting! I cannot do the friend of the show, Tony Schiavone.
Yeah, I'm not even going to try.
But Sting is Xing because it was, whose Hall of Fame induction?
Lex Luger.
Lex Luger has been picked to go into the Hall of Fame, and apparently he said yesterday that he told Triple H that if he got anybody to induct him of his choice, he would want Sting, who is obviously on a Legends contract now with AEW, to do the induction. And apparently Hunter reached out to AEW and be like, yo, can we borrow Sting for a night to induct Lex Luger into the Hall of Fame? And I'm going to say this right now, Tony Khan, if you want your company to survive, say yes.
He's going to say yes. That's not the reason why he's Xing, though. Today is his birthday.
63?
66.
66. Good bless.
And
well, at least he stopped jumping off of stuff.
Yes, as far as we know.
As far as we know.
All right, but he will be at South Carolina Comic-Con coming up April 6th. He will only be here on the 6th, which is on a Sunday. Check out sccomiccon.com for a ticket info, and you can meet Sting and get an autograph and all that kind of fun stuff.
Shout out, Rob Young.
It will be one of the last times that he's actually in public in makeup. And finally, the last thing.
It's face paint.
Sorry. And finally, the last thing, I told you he's being negative. The last thing that's Xing is John Jones.
That's not what we talked about. That's not what we talked about.
I don't know what you're talking about because
they found some big ass chambers under the pyramids of Giza in Cairo.
Yeah, that requires whole segments. That's not this.
Apparently, they found like 6 gigantic cylindrical rooms and then like one room that is apparently supposed to be 2 kilometers long, and nobody knows what it is, if they're even real. So if you need me today, I will be watching basketball out of one eye and researching gigantic ass chambers under the pyramids of Giza in the other.
All right, John Jones I'm looking into that too. That's amazing. It's them aliens. John Jones is Xing because he says he needs 6 months to prepare for Aspinall.
Cool. Call me when it happens.
Happy spring, Rob.
That's it for us. Happy spring, everybody. Enjoy your rest of your day. Do not drink and drive. I will punch you in the face. We'll see you back here tomorrow to do it all over again, but better on the Friday edition of the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. Later.
I know I probably shouldn't say, it's going to be a good old-fashioned ass whooping.
What's going to be the butt whipping?
But can we borrow Sting, please? He said, the thing is, he's still got to say yes, right? Like, he can't say no to that. That just looks salty and petty if you say no to it.
Trey, I don't know what the price is.
Because Lonzo doesn't pay for stuff.
That's not the reason.
Big time celebrity.
That's not the reason.
He knows the manager.
I do. He is a good friend of mine. That's not the reason. Even though all that may be true, I never would go, hey, man, can I get this, person? He will get us, from time to time people to interview, which is awesome.
Which is awesome.
Which it's also promotion, by the way.
It's also promotion, by
whatever
the way.
price they charge, I can't help that. And I don't know what it is, by the way. I will tell you whenever I get an autograph, which I have a couple, I paid for them. So. I don't have to say, do you know who I am? Because if you come up and talk to me, then obviously you don't understand the rules, which are don't come up and talk to me.
All right, I'm going to go panic
Not
and
really.
stress review my my bracket for the next hour and a half.
Dude, just pick something. I mean, you just already went through and picked them all. You're going
It's
to
going
change
to be like
something?
when I go to a restaurant and they have all the things on the order and I change my mind 15 times and then I just panic order whatever the waiter asks me what I want. It's going to be that. It's going to be 12:14 and I'm going to lock. Thanks for being here. You're all amazing people. Tell your friends about us. We're trying to get rich and famous. Have a great rest of your day.
Cracker.
Enjoy the games. Goodbye.